Hello, my friends, and welcome. It's time to party, and not just like a regular VML party. This is the playoff party here at the VML. My name's Nicole Callahan, also known as LadyOfTheCrease, joined tonight by the lovely Misha Migo. Misha, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing fantastic. I am so excited for the wild card round. We haven't done wild cards in I don't even know how many seasons. So this is the first time in a long time that we've gotten to do one of these.
Right, it's been a minute. This is our week 8 of play. Now, we started the season with 7 weeks of round robin play, 128 players, and we have cut that field down. We took the top 2 players from each of our 16 divisions and then the next 16 highest ranking players, and we are throwing 32 of them into a wild card round tonight. So if they won their division, they got through. They're through to the round of 32. Good job on y'all. But we need some action tonight. So we're throwing the wild cards into the ring. So excited to do this. And a big, huge thank you to Wizards of the Coast for their sponsorship of the VML, for all their support throughout each season. We could not do this without them. They are amazing. Love them. They give us a lot of our prize support that we have, including some qualifier weekend badges to our top 16. Our top 8 for the season is going to receive regional championship invitations, and the top 8 will also make the VML championships at the end of this year, which offers not one but 2 pro tour invites. So again, a lot on the line tonight, besides some cash money too. It's always good, always good. But big thanks to Wizards for making this season possible. I am so excited to get the playoffs going. Let's take a look at what our players brought with them this week to battle. And it looks like we see a ramp, Azorius control, and mid-range there at the top, but it's a pretty evenly cut piece of pizza pie there. So
Yeah, when I was making this last night, I was like, okay. I just think this goes to show that standards in a really healthy place. That there's so many viable decks like Esper midrange, Azorius control, Temur Ramp. Like those have been some of the front runners. 5 color domain trailing just behind. But as we've seen, Boros Convoke, Dimir midrange, and that you know we're calling it 4 color legends, but we really know that's just the Gurk in disguise. Um,
you're like,
you
oh,
know
hold
those
on, wait a second.
yeah, so it's just been really fun to see that, our top players are playing such a wide variety of decks. And I'm so excited to just see how these, shake out this week.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how this influences the deck submission going forward. Because obviously, at this point, it's playoffs. It's you win or you go home. So each week is do or die, and it's going to be very interesting to see what these players pick to battle with moving forward. As like decks like Temur Ramp have really broken out recently, and like you said, those Slogurk, we keep see the Slogurk just keeps on coming back. So it'll be very
Thank you,
interesting to see.
Takanuma.
Yes. In so many ways, in so many ways. And with that, I feel like maybe we should move on to our first matchup that we have tonight. We are going to be looking at Axe, and they have brought 4 color legends. Oh, wait. Slogurk.
Yeah, speak of the
Here.
devil or the slime, Slogurk has arrived.
Slogurk has arrived in all of Slogurk's slimy glory, and I it's a really impressive. Like, I know they call it like the 4 color legends deck, but combo deck. It's been very impressive. A lot of people have brought it. It seems very complicated to play, but it seems very powerful at the same time. Would you say that that's one of the draws to this deck? Would be its power level?
Absolutely. It's very hard to interact with just because there's so much graveyard recursion. It's kind of like playing solitaire. The biggest concern I have when I see this deck like start popping off is the person playing it going to be able to get through all of their triggers in time before they time out. So I think that's it's also a testament to how fast can you play this deck and how skillfully can you do it, because it's a lot going on, a lot to click through, and just a lot to make sure that, if I'm getting something back from the graveyard, am I sequencing it right? There's just a lot going on with this deck, which makes it very fun, but probably a little bit easier to play in paper.
Yes, yes, because you could just say, "Oh, I'm just going to do this," you know, 10 times and be like, okay, instead of having to actually click through each of the things. So, clock mindfulness, definitely something you have to have when playing this deck. And hopefully, Axe has that tonight as we take a look at their opponent.
Oh, I wanted to just mention
Oh,
that this week I did something special for their slides. They I asked them what their favorite tokens are, and I put the pictures of those tokens on their slides. So I just wanted to shout out that Zendikar snake.
I think it's actually adorable. I know it's supposed to be terrifying with the fangs and stuff, but it looks like surprise. Like you just walked into like you're holding its birthday cake or something. You're like, surprise, happy birthday, snake. And it's just so happy. Like, I think it's
Yes,
adorable. It needs a
I
party hat.
it brought me so much joy seeing everybody's favorite tokens and then putting them on the slides this week. So
I love it. I love it. All right. I would like to take a look at Axe's opponent, Paige, here and see what her favorite MTG token is. And that is I token I can't say I've ever seen actually. So
I won't lie. I had to do some googling on this one. I was like, because she was very specific when she said it. I was like, I need to make sure I get the right sliver token. But it was yeah, it's a unique one.
yes, as is
If
this
I may,
Esper range deck. Oh, please.
Paige is automatically in my good books for playing slivers because that's I like slivers. I like them a lot.
I like a little slinky boy.
Slivers have me do a lot of reading. I'm like, is that the first strike one? Oh, is that the haste one? Is this the one that pumps the team? I don't really.
Eventually, the answer to those questions is just yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, you just
exactly.
make a list and you put it on the side, and if one sliver has it, they all have it, right?
Right, exactly. And speaking of a lot of words on magic cards, here we have Rafine, Scheming Seer, and friends in this Esper mid-range deck. And every card in this deck does a little something. Whether there's chapters on Wedding Announcement, Wandering Emperor, Denick, Deep Cavern Bat, they've all got so many extra things going on here. But this is a deck that has just had some staying power in standard for quite some time now. And nothing's really been able to just knock it out of the spotlight. It's always been a decent choice, I feel like, week in and week out. What are your thoughts of this Esper mid-range deck, especially going up against the Slogurk four-color Legends deck?
I think this has been a really strong one because there's been a few, inclusions, exclusions of cards. Like I think in this list, I'm not really seeing any main board Shouldreds, but I'm seeing more Dinix. Previously, I haven't, I've seen less Dinix, but going against the Slogurk deck, having, making it harder to interact with the graveyard is great. Also, it's just the bats. The bats are taking over. They're in everything now. There's a bat infestation happening in standard. That bat has made hand disruption just so easy, and the fact that you can just have 4 of them in a deck, and not only are they just great hand disruption, they're a 1/1 flyer with lifelink, so that evasion lifelink is just very strong. So I am a big fan of bats and the tide binders. I see 2 of in here. Being able to basically stifle most important effects of cards, very, very strong. So there's been some really good upgrades in the last couple sets that have come out to include in this deck, and I think that's what just keeps making it stronger and why it hasn't really been knocked out recently.
Love to see it. And it is what is Paige has chosen to battle with this week and our wild card playoff week here at the VML. And we are about to see these two players battle it out. We have Axe, they are on Slogurk, they are on the bottom of our screen, and Paige, she is on the Esper mid-range deck on the top of our screen. We're going to take a look at a couple of these openers here. And what do you think about Axe's opener?
I think that's great. You got your Rona, your Inti, and a Slowgurk. For me, I'm snap keeping that one.
Looks good. And Paige thinks she will keep her 7 as well. 2 lands, but a lot of castable spells with those 2 lands.
Yeah.
And we're off to the races.
Yep, a bat on too. I love that for Paige.
Double bats, actually. Things are about to
Yes.
get batty in here. Glad to see that Brain Maggot got an upgrade, right? And we see Deep Cavern Bat take a little look. A
If
little
I'm
looky loo.
if I'm Paige here, I'm probably thinking about taking the Rona. The Rona helps with a lot of filtering, lots of untaps, especially if you can play the Inti out, the Slowgurk out. That gives you an untap, a retap, getting more, just cards in the graveyard, and then just shuffling. So it's a good card. If I'm Paige, I think my consideration would be Rona.
Yeah, Paige is taking a good long look at this hand because it with only 2 lands and not that much interaction, a second bat will be on the way. So, but it looks like Paige is going to play it safe and take the Slogurk. And look, it's the Thoughtseize bug in all its glory.
Yep. Taking the Slogurk also will slow him down. Unfortunately, Paige has no idea that Axe did just draw that second Slogurk. But, there's a chance that she plays second bat, and we'll find out very quickly.
We see a third land here is the draw on Paige's side. So a Plains looks like she's going to start by playing that out. And the Bats goes in for some beats. So down to 19 goes Axe. Paige up to 21 and just going to hold up that Tashana's Tidebinder here, it looks like, on Paige's side.
Mhm. Yeah, not going to Tidebinder the relic. No reason. It's not going to do anything for her. Um, here, though, she could flash out the Tidebinder to get, yep, onto the Rona.
This looks great. So Rona now just a vanilla 1/3. Doesn't do anything else until that Tidebinder leaves the battlefield. No more lies the draw from Paige. So she will not have a fourth land drop to make here. Not going to be able to double spell and is going to choose to go for the throat, the Inti, and just get in for some beats. So down to 15 goes Axe. Now, is this the way that Paige is going to win these games? So she needs the early board presence and to be the aggressive. Is she going to be the beatdown here?
I I think it's better that she that she is. Because when the further Axe gets into this game, there's going to be more stuff going into the graveyard, more just being able to cycle cards, and there's just more of a chance that Axe can get those combo pieces together, and that's what Paige is looking to prevent. So I think the faster Paige can start getting in for damage and just pushing through, the more likely she is to win this game.
So we see Slogurk onto the battlefield, holding up Otawara and Zeator's Proven Ground cycling ability on Axe's side as they pass the turn back. And Darkslick Shores, a land for Paige, but it is a tap land. So that will come and tap and still unable to double spell. But that deck is looking pretty good to keep Slogurk from doing too many shenanigans in that graveyard.
Yeah, I agree. And then if I'm looking at Axe's hand, it's nice to have that Otawara up for protection for the Slowgurk. Also able to cycle that Zia Torres. If I'm them, I think I'm gonna be cycling here just to see if I can get some more action.
So we see, so Slogurk growing a little bit. It is now the 4/4 with Trample and a second copy of Rona. Not too great.
Yeah, I don't love this. Axe could play the second Rona out so that, the first Rona isn't doing too much. But the second one could. Uh it's still just feels like wasted value though.
Slogurk getting in for beats. So Paige is going to say, yeah, bring it right in the face. So down to 19 goes Paige. And Axe looking to do something here. And it looks like they will play out the second copy of Rona,
Yeah,
choosing to keep the new one.
yeah, that first one, it's unfortunate since, the tide it's been tide bindered, and unless you can remove the tide binder, you're not gonna get any value off of it. So just playing the second one so you can actually start shuffling things away. That I think that was the move. Plus this point, just having something to block, because Paige is starting to push a lot of damage, and Axe really is just not drawing the gas that they need.
So that was an attack for 6. Deep Cavern back going to take a look at Axe's one card hand right now. Going to reveal the Otawara. Now, no more lies can't do much about that, but it is better to know about in the long run, most likely.
Information is always good to have in Magic.
We see Axe taking a second before proceeding to their turn, and it looks like a third copy of Slogurk is going to be the draw here. So one under the bat, one on the battlefield, one in the hands. All you need is one in the graveyard, and then you've got one in exile, and then
All the spaces are covered, right?
everything. That's why you play 4, right?
One in all zones.
So we'll see. It looks like debating is going to start by flipping Rona.
I don't remember the last time I've seen a flipped Rona, to be
And
honest.
it has.
They get in for damage. The Virtue of Loyalty can make a 2/2, and the Fairy Mastermind could come flashed out, but neither of those really are going to get any value here. The Mastermind, if you're not drawing that second card, um, it's it's nice to have another flyer in the air, but yeah, I think just having the flyer, you're not getting the value off the card draw, but if you're just trying to push the damage like Paige has been, I think flashing that out was the right move here.
Yeah, and we see, I mean, Axe is at 8 life and can't deal with anything in the air right now, except uh, perhaps with an Odawara at some point. So this would be an attack for 4, which is half of Axe's life total. We see the Virtue of Loyalty also. So Paige is just going wide here. Looks like that is her strategy, and it seems to be working so far.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Having the evasion in the air has been working out pretty dang well. Who would have thought? Flyers, they're good.
Right? Those deep cavern bats, MVP of this game so far. And we do see, although Paige did draw a restless anchorage this turn, also has a restless anchorage in play, but is looking to keep open No More Lies and Virtue of Loyalty so as not to lose her advantage this game so far.
Yeah, and having that restless anchorage out there, that's just a really good move for Paige. Because even if Axe were to Otawara one of the flyers, that's still 4 damage in the air that Paige or that Axe would not be able to do much about.
Yeah, and we see that Virtue of Loyalty going to go with Ardenvale Fealty to make it 2/2 White Knight with Vigilance. And Axe says, that's enough. I'm beat. Let's move on to sideboards and game number 2 here as we take a little look at Axe's sideboard. Is there anything that stands out to you?
I'm probably considering bringing in Aclazotz. Having a big life-linking flyer, I think would be pretty good against, especially what we just saw from Paige that last game. I think that would be one big consideration I would bring in. Uh, Potentially, yeah, the Gix's command as well, just because you can destroy a lot of creatures with power a creature with power 2 or less, and that's a majority of what Paige had going on.
Yes. And so taking a little look here, definitely wanted to be able to deal with those flyers. The Katose Silent Spider is coming in. And considering a couple of other moves here, we see Sheoldred being shaved. Jace the Perfected Mind is an interesting one, usually used to mill out your opponent, and it looks like that will be coming out here.
Hmm. And a Titania,
Question is
maybe.
how many? Yeah, a couple duresses in. So Ashnod duresses out, duresses in, Ashnod out. And we'll take a look at this Esper sideboard and
Looks like the wedding announcements came out, the No More Lies came out, bringing in see some Destroy Evils, and I think that was a couple of Anoint with Afflictions as well.
yeah, bringing in Cut Down as well.
Yeah,
The
Cut
flip.
Down's great against that Rona, being a 1/3.
Mm.
It takes care of that and the Inti, which are very big enablers early game for Axe's deck.
All right, and let's take a look at this opener. Now, Axe has 2 lands, 5 spells, but does not have any red or green sources. What do you think about this hand?
Ooh, this is challenge. Yeah, I was gonna say like having those cut downs and stuff, it helps, but when you can't play your own threats, it becomes a struggle. So I think that was the right move um to send that back, and this looks much better. You got your colors, you got what you need, you got the relic, and might be a little slow getting the Titania out on 3, but oh, never mind. Never didn't have it.
Right? Beautiful draw on turn 2. Rona, Herald of Invasion, really the engine of this deck, even though everybody calls it a slow Gurk deck. Rona's here doing all the hard work.
Mhm.
So,
You gotta have your enablers.
right, right. It's, your elvish mystics of the world unite. So, Relic of Legends is going to be the play here. So, Titania staying on the side for the time being, not going to get into the red zone with that Rona. She has more important things to do. As we see a Fairy Mastermind from the side of Paige, the first spell that she casts this game so far. Going to play third land, but 6 spells in hand from Paige. Just getting in with that Fairy Mastermind, and it looks like happy to pass the turn. So Rona is going to loot, drawing a Dreamroot Cascade, and we'll see what hits the bin here.
Oh,
Katose is
this Yeah, I was
expensive.
gonna say I think the dream route is what goes because if I'm Axe, I want to keep that Otawara in my hand. I don't want that going to the graveyard just yet. I want to get the value off of it first.
And it looks like Relic of Legends tapping down Rona, casting the Titania, and Rona going to trigger here to untap.
If I'm
And
Paige, I think I'm flashing out that Tidebinder right here.
we'll see. Yeah. And it looks like Tidebinder happy to make Rona a 1/3 vanilla creature once again here. But Titanium Voice of Gaia is on the battlefield. 3/4 sneaky reach. So Fairy Masterminds beware.
Yep, let that go for the throat. And I'm trying to see that Otawara, I think, could be used to bounce it to hand because we do have two legends and two mana.
Yes. And Axe is going to say that is worth it. So is going to keep Titania safe in hand for now. But the beats come across so for 5. So Axe is down to 15 already. And
Yeah, and as we know, Paige does have a few more removal spells ready to be used. So even if Titania came back out, there's a good chance that she might not be there for long.
we see Katose coming down, and Go for the Throat is the chosen card. So Katose Silent Spider comes onto the battlefield. You target a card other than a basic land and get to exile them, and then can cast that card as long as you control Katose. So that was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, that I think could be a game changer here for Axe, because those two go for the throats in hand were potentially going to destroy their side of the board and open the way for Paige to, just clear it through. So that getting Katose out at that specific moment was vital, I think.
Yes, and the fact that it was 2 cards in Paige's hand too, because Paige doesn't get anything back for them. It's not like the end where you could get to draw for whatever cards are taken out of your hand, or you don't get, a 2/2 skeleton or something. You get nothing. So Paige just lost those 2 cards. Those 2 go for the throats were gone. It's like a double mulligan.
Yeah, Katose is rough.
Yes. Yes. And now Axe gets to take advantage of that and cast one of the Go for the Throats that had been exiled. And so we see happily casting Titania back onto the battlefield here as Katose, also a 4/4 beater, getting in. So Paige is down to 16 life, Axe at 13. And passing the turn back, we see a 4th land from Paige here.
Yeah, and with that Titania having reach, there's Paige is going to struggle to get through because a lot of those flyers on her side of the board are not big enough to handle a Titania.
Yeah, we see Katose getting in once again. Paige does have Tidebinder up, has a Fairy Mastermind that she can play in at some point on the end step, imaginably, or she can also activate the Fairy Mastermind in play to draw an extra card. But it looks like none of that will happen.
Yeah, it's a difficult position to be in because we can tell from the little eyeballs on these cards that Paige knows that Axe has the Urtai, but Axe knows Paige has the Tishanas. So it's like a who's gonna go first because the only card that I think was unknown is the Otawara. And so it's a risk. It's a risk playing first because here we go. I think the Tidebinder might be coming out.
Yeah, we'll see. Urtai Resurrected countering target spell or ability, and Tishana will return fire here. And Odawara, the unknown quantity in this equation.
Mhm. Yes, so it's that back and forth, the knowledge is key, but having that one unknown just, it makes for an interesting, interaction.
It certainly is. So the Denik is on the battlefield for now. Urtai is back in Axe's hand, and Slogurk was the draw for turn.
I We know that Paige has, or sorry, we know that Axe has the Urtai, so I was curious if Paige was going to triple block to ensure that the Katose would die here, even if the Urtai gets flashed out.
Uh, yeah, I imagine that one of those is on the Rona, and Paige probably doesn't want to give that up so easily.
Mhm.
So making sure that it wasn't the one that was on the Rona that died. So saying, ah, shucks, got to keep going.
Right? Yep, still managed to, get the trade, so the board's been a little bit more cleared, and now the Urtai will come out, and I have a feeling it's going to destroy that other Tidebinder.
And that looks like that will happen. Paige drawing a card. Destroy Evil is the draw. So Fairy Mastermind and Destroy Evil in hand for Paige, and a Slogurk for Axe that looks like is about to come down on the battlefield. Join the
Yep.
party.
It's always a party when Slowgurk
Oh,
arrives.
yes.
But I'm interested to see because right now Slowgurk's still only a 3/3. That Destroy Evil only, I believe it's, toughness 4?
4 or greater, yes.
Mhm.
So um, we'll
Going to have
see.
to wait for a counter.
So Fairy Mastermind and Destroy Evil both in hands, but not going to do anything with it. Denick sitting on the battlefield trying to protect the graveyards, and we see Arona Loot just going to draw and discard, hit Plaza of Heroes, so that will trigger the Slowgurk. And
Mhm.
Paige not going to waste any time here. Just going to destroy Evil Slowgurk. And
Yep. Hit that minimum of 4, and it's now off the battlefield.
right, that's problem number one that Paige had to take care of here. As we see Axe just drawing a land, but is able to once again flip Rona, Herald of Invasion, to Rona, Tolarian Obliterator, which is a 5/5 with trample. And whenever a source deals damage to Rona, that source's controller exiles a card from their hand at random. If it's a land card, you may put it on the battlefield under your control. Otherwise, you can cast it without paying its mana cost. So
Right.
that was enough, though, for Paige. By the time she was done reading the card, she was like, oh, okay, never mind. So,
Yep, it flipped. It's a 5/5 with trample.
right.
Not much going on, drawing a land. Gonna just take it to game 3.
Taking it to game number 3 for both of these players. Now, this is a do or die situation. As we said earlier, this is our wild card week here at the VML. We are in our first week of playoffs, and these players are playing for the right to continue on and to our round of 32. Going to look at sideboarding once again here, and it looks like all the Shieldreds are coming out for Axe, and happy with 3 go for the throats.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of who can draw the removal the fastest, keeping those boards clear, pushing the like whoever can keep a board state, I think is going to be the winner in this game.
Paige was happy with her sideboarding, so no changes there as we go to game number 3. And some interesting hands from our players here. We see a keep from X on 7. Paige goes down to 6, but is happy with that. And a bat in hand on turn 2 once again.
Oh, I think this bat is going to be crucial for Paige because Axe right now only really has the Inti, but we do know that the cut down's coming, so at least Paige is going to get to take a peek at Axe's hand and know what's on the horizon for them.
Yeah, we see Relic, Gix's Command, and an Inti, and a land is the draw for turn. So Inti's going to come down. Now, Anoint with Affliction's a pretty powerful removal spell, and we see Paige just being like, I need to get that Inti out of here
Yeah.
so that Inti can't build up that card advantage. Do you think that that was aggressive, or do you like that play?
Oh, I think that was the right move. Knowing that there's a Takanuma in hand, the Anoint with Affliction, exiles. So it's like, Takanuma's nice, but once it's exiled, it's just gone. So I think that was the right move because Inti is going to give trample, it's going to give counters, and it's going to let you loot and play things. So I, I don't know. I think Inti might even be a little bit better than Rona in most
Oh,
considerations.
I love it. Yeah, Inti definitely does some work here. And speaking of doing some work, Paige just flashed in a Fairy Mastermind. So Go for the Throat is up for Axe if they care to use it. Um, can also cast the adventure side of Virtue of Loyalty, the Arden Veil Fealty, and create a 2/2 White Knight creature token with Vigilance. And it looks like that's what she's going to do. Tashana's Tidebinder was the draw here, which has been pretty good and has been picking on Rona this entire match.
Yeah, that Tidebinder just says no cards, Rona. Sorry.
Yes.
Not gonna let you shuffle or let you loot away. It's too good. Um, oh, gonna go for the Takanuma here. Axe does have to be kind of careful to play around the Dinnick, so we don't know when Paige is going to draw that first Dinnick either. So I think it was a good move to try to Takanuma and see what we can get in the graveyard and get back. But unfortunately, it's not going to be any value.
Yeah, and that Tashana's Tiebinder are going to, yeah, just counter that. And looking at Gix's command on Axe's side now, and taking a look, there is a mode on there that destroys all creatures power 2 or less, but that would destroy Rona as well. Uh, there is an option to put 2 counters onto Rona and give her lifelink until end of turn. And then there's also an option to have your opponent sacrifice the creature with the greatest power. So Axe could totally clear the board right now of everything. But I'm not sure if that is what they want to do.
Yeah, this is definitely a tough position for them to be in. I think I would be putting the counters on Rona and then sweeping Paige's board right here because that mastermind in the air is going to be trouble. We do know that Paige has the destroy evil that will get rid of it. Um, or okay, Axe deciding to go for returning the Rona to hand. So
Oh, and Deep Cavern Bat drawed and could not play that any faster on Paige's side, saying, let me take a look. What's happened to your hand since the last time I saw it? And we see that Rona, a double Relic of Legends, the second one in hand, and a Go for the Throat. And the Go for the Throat is what will be taken here as Tiebinder getting in for 3. So Axe down to 15, Paige still at 20.
yeah, I think taking the go for the throat was the right move on Paige's side, just because if if she doesn't take it, Axe just plays it, removes the bat, gets whatever Paige did take back. So you kind of when you're in that position, you're kind of forced to take the removal spell. Otherwise, you're not getting a lot of value off your bat.
So we see getting in for 4 here. So Axe down to 11, and these creatures are going to get real big real fast unless Axe can stop them.
Yeah, once that virtue of loyalty comes out, it starts to be just a ticking clock because every time, um, every every instep, your opponent's instep, things just get bigger and bigger, and it becomes harder to climb back up that mountain.
Yeah, we see it flipping Rona once again. That is 3 for 3 in these games. So Rona Talarian Obliterator is here. And the question is Rona getting in? And it looks like no. Rona will be left back on defense with the Destroy Evil and Wandering Emperor in hand. I would imagine Rona's not long for this world.
I would agree. That destroy evil cleared the way for both of these attackers. The virtue will untap them, put a counter. It's not looking great for Axe right now.
No, and at 5 life, Tidebinder would be lethal on its own, but Sukensen will channel into 2/1/1. So gonna chump block here and take 3. Paige will gain 3 up to 26. Axe down to 2. Needs something here. A second Sukensen is not gonna do it. So Paige will take that one down on Esper Midrange over Axe on a 4-color Slogurk, 2-1 in a very exciting matchup. But good games to both of our players, and good luck to Paige in the next round of playoffs.
Those were some great games. We always love when it goes to game 3. We know the players don't, but for us it's very entertaining.
It's like, sorry, everybody, just keep going. Wow, what a way to kick off our VML playoffs. That was great. Once again, brought to you by Wizards of the Coast. A big thank you to everybody at WotC for all of their support. We adore you, and we're ready for our next matchup here. So I don't know about you, but I'm just ready to keep going.
I'm just ready for you to see the next tokens.
Oh, 3-3. Oh, okay. That's nice. I love it. I like the old school look too. I like the
I
old school, like fiery look.
This one very much gave me Urabrask vibes, and I was like, I'm here for it. I like Urabrask. This golem, looks like it could have been in Urabrask's forge.
I'm
I know
feeling
that's not the same plane, but they look similar.
I love it. And I also love this deck, 5-color domain. Now we've seen 5-color domain has been what it was the boogeyman of the format for some time, where it's just like, oh no, yeah, Trax is everywhere. It can't beat a Traxa. Now, there's 3 copies of Traxa, and somehow Imidane's Recruiter got in there. And then, we see some people play Spelunking. I don't believe this list is. We see Wandering Emperors. So things have kind of gotten mixed up a little bit with the 5-color domain deck, where there's a lot more, I feel like, 1-ofs and 2-ofs and different lists and things like that, where sort of like diverging from the original list. What do you think of this list in particular? I'm thinking about the Wandering Emperor and Imidane's Recruiter in particular.
Yeah, looking at it, the one of Imidane's, I think that is spicy. If you get an Atraxa out or the Archangel of Wrath, and then you just hit the Imidane's, too, because sometimes you have all the mana you need. Hasting those out is terrifying.
It's pretty
uh,
scary.
yeah, and I do think the like one of temporary lockdown, depending on what your opponents are playing. Sometimes it could be a dead card in hand, but other times you're like, whew, all these 1/1s, and like I just need to get those off the board. So I think it's a really, trying to cover all your bases type of thing. I do like the 3 of up the beanstalks. You always gotta be a little bit careful with those, not to deck yourself. But I think this is a good mix. I'm very in favor of the Imidanes, though.
I love it. And let's see what Branca is battling against this week. It's a different kind of ramp deck, Temur Ramp. Now, this is a deck that has really broken on like into the format. Speaking of ramp, we have a Goblin Shaman token there, kind of chilling. If you if you need ramp, that thing makes treasure tokens.
Yep.
So,
I feel like if Nile was here, it would be she'd be campaigning hard for unban Fable.
oh gosh, yeah, yeah. I have feelings on Fable, but we don't have time for we don't have time for my monologue. But Nissa Resurgent Animus, however, we do have time for, as that magic card has done something that I feel like Nissa Resurgent Animus is the only reason that like people remember that aftermath set happened. So
Yeah, that was the one standout from that very small, somewhat forgettable set.
they're like, oh yeah, that's that card from the aftermath. So yes, yes, that's the one. That's the one. Nissa Resurgent Animus has been doing some work in a lot of these decks lately. We've seen a lot of the aftermath analyst has also like broken out on to the standard scene. Uh, the I see the one of Kellen, which I kind of love. That's a great magic card. World Souls Rage, obviously your finisher. Ill-timed explosion to kind of clear things off of the battlefield. What are your thoughts on these new Temur ramp decks?
Honestly, I've been really excited. I haven't it's only been I think the last couple weeks that these ones have really broken out and like shown like how strong they are. The World Souls Rage, like the fact that that just can like, you know, kill you out of nowhere. It's just like, well, I guess I'll die.
Right. And of course your limited all-star doppelgang. I see a one of copy in there. So that's spicy. I'm here for it. And I can't wait to see how these two decks battle, as we have Burnt Taco on Temur Ramp and Branca on 5-color ramp. We'll be watching from the side of our 5-color ramp player, Branca, and taking a look at this opener. What do you think?
Um, I feel pretty good about this one. You're missing what is it? You're missing one color, blue, blue, the wet one.
It's a
But
very dry hand.
yes, yes. But being able to get a beanstalk out on two, and you can also herd migration to get the one color you're missing. I think that's a very strong hand to keep.
Yeah, and Branca agrees. We are off to the races. And Kellen, Inquisitive Prodigy, going to cast the adventure side and move through. It looks like okay, playing another Riveteer's Overlook, and already filling up that graveyard with those basic fetch lands. Up the beanstalk coming down for Branca, drawing another land. Doesn't have all the colors quite yet, but like you said, Topiary Stomper can always grab blue here, making those leyline bindings super cheap. Wandering Emperor, Herd Migration, it's all here. Have an Angel of Wrath, Archangel of Wrath, that would take care of any early threats.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like this is a very strong hand. There was a little bit of a consideration, of do I grab the blue? Do I grab the other white so I can play like the Leyline Binding and an Archangel or the Wandering Emperor in the same turn? But you're just gonna go ahead and complete the 5 color domain. There's gonna be a Jetmir's Garden or a Cavern and Souls that can come out, help cast those other spells. So I think, yeah, I think just getting the island was the right choice off of that.
I love seeing it. And we see Burnt Taco cashing in that clue, drawing cards, playing a broker's hideout, getting a mountain. So mountains, forests, islands. Burnt Taco has all their colors. Topiary Stomper can't do much until there's 7 lands on the battlefield. So just a tap land and a pass of the turn as a second Leyline Binding was drawn on Branca's side. But Burnt Taco hasn't even played anything that can be a binding yet. So we're kind of just at a standstill at the moment.
This feels kind of like a control match.
Right? Draw, go.
Oh, yeah, Branca definitely holding on to these herd migrations because she's already getting enough lands just kind of on their own. Doesn't really need to use the other ability to go get more lands. Waiting, and I think just trying to get all of the 3/3s possible, but doesn't want to really play into whatever Burnt Taco might be having going on the other side.
Yes. We see a broker's hideout coming down. So Burnt Taco is just doing their thing. They're like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep playing these. These are great. I'm just gaining life. Playing a 1/3 right here. Aftermath Analyst is coming down. When Aftermath Analyst enters the battlefield, you mill 3, and you can pay green and 3 and sack it and return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped, which, as you can see, Burnt Taco has really been, those have been adding up for sure. So,
Yeah, and they have definitely been, kind of biding their time, waiting until they have that full, 4 mana so that, if Branca does try to bind it, Murdoch was like, I'll just sack it. No worries.
I love this here. Branca going, fetching up a plains, wanting to guarantee the herd migration here, saying, you know what, this game's about to get out of hand. Once so many of these land drops have been made, Aftermath Analysts just getting in, and it looks like going to jump in front of the 4/4 before sacrificing itself, returning all lands from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped, and we are going to have a mountain of triggers here. So everybody get comfortable. We're not going anywhere anytime
Yeah.
soon.
I thought the Slogurk deck was gonna have a lot more triggers, but
Right?
here we are on Temur Ramp.
Yes, Temur Ramp just doing their thing. That fetching up all the basics until there are no more in the deck. Broker's Hideout, Forest, Plains, or Island. We got our Bant lands. One last Bant land here. Let's see. Are there still lands in the deck? There are. There are still some basic lands in the deck.
Yeah, don't
And
mind me just counting to see how many lands are over on Burnt Taco's side currently.
so we see Archangel of Wrath gonna come down here, double kicked, just going face, being like, stop gaining life off of all these lands. 27, 25, 23. So still 3 points above starting life total is Burnt Taco from all those life gain lands. And Branca's like, come on. I got my work cut out for me here.
Yeah, if I'm Branca, I am a little bit worried though because it could be. I think there's 2 ill-timed explosions in Burnt Taco's graveyard, but I believe there's 4 of in their deck.
Oh,
So it's always a little bit concerning when there might be a board wipe imminent.
yeah, well, the Nissa Resurgent Animus coming down. We'll see what Nissa finds on the trigger. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you get a mana of any color. And if it's the second time the ability has happens that turn, you get to reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal, I believe it's Elf or Elemental. Yes, Elf or Elemental. You can put the card into your hand and then the rest on the bottom of your library. So it looks like another Aftermath Analyst will be found. So I have a feeling a bunch more triggers about to go on the stack.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Aftermath Analyst is the only elf. Looks like everything else in the deck doesn't would not. There's no elementals, so
Yeah.
yeah,
It can hit itself. Nissa can
true.
hit another Nissa. So that's the only other thing. So,
Better
and
than first Nissa, second Nissa, especially when your opponent's got leyline bindings.
right. And Branca taking a quick look at the graveyard here for us and being like, yeah, it's a lot of lands that we're looking at as the analyst actually milled 2 lands and a memory deluge once coming into play. However, it looks like Branca Burnt Taco does not have enough to both activate the analyst and cast memory deluge for 7 from the graveyard. So it looks like it will have to be a choice here of what they would like to do.
Hmm. Ooh. Right now, if I'm yeah, this is a challenge because you don't necessarily want your aftermath analysts to get exiled, and as soon as Bronca untaps that's a very likely chance. But with only 4 cards in hand, I feel like I would be wanting to draw to see if I can get something that's going to help advance my game.
Yeah, and we will see with 4 cards in hand as well. Burnt Taco knows this is a big decision to make. And like you had said earlier, this deck now plays that one of Imidane's Recruiter, and it is open deck lists. So Burnt Taco knows that. Oh, 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 knows that Imidane's Recruiter is in there. Now, this would probably not be enough damage, but Herd Migration followed by Recruiter most likely would be. We see Wandering Emperor going to plus on the Archangel. 4/5 first striker in the air. Analyst's not even going to jump here. So it looks like Burnt Taco has made their decision to cast the Memory Deluge from the graveyard, as the adventure side of Imidane's Recruiter is going to be cast here instead.
That's a very interesting choice. I I know that Branca, I think, needs a little bit more land to be able to do herd migration and the Emidane's recruiter. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, and needing 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So would be a little far off from being able to do the 5 3 3s plus hasting them, but she's definitely setting herself up to be able to do that very soon.
Well, we do know that there is one ill-timed explosion so far in the graveyard, and
I believe
that
a second one was milled as
also
well.
was milled. So there are, if there are 2 of the 4 are in the graveyard, and we did see Burn Taco not have any interest in casting an ill-timed explosion if they had one again when the field was Archangel of Wrath 3/3 and Topiary Stomper. So unsure, but we see a ley line here on the side of Branca, and Aftermath
Amazing.
Analyst is just going to blow everything up in response, as we see the mana is just going to start to roll in here as all of those sacrifice. What do you call them? I've been calling them like the basic fetch lands, but I know they're not like
Ooh,
especially because they're like anti fetch lands because you actually gain life, you don't pay life. So
I ah, you know, that's a good question. What do I call those? I just think of the SNC semi-triomes because they're not actually triomes, but you can go get one of 3. So I just think of them as the new Capenna lands.
some people call them the new Capenna lands. They call them the Capenna lands, and it was like I just like for some reason I just like can't get the whole fetch thing out of my mind. As we see, you know, that well they do stop fetching up lands at some point because there would be
You
no
run
more
out.
lands.
You literally just run out of lands to fetch.
Burnt
Which,
Taco, you're out of lands. I understand. It's all right. That's okay.
but Nissa will still repay you.
You see, Invasion of Zendikar going to be the Beanstalk draw off of this Leyline Binding, and Leyline Binding will take care of Nissa, but it is still Burnt Taco's turn here. And like I said, there are cards like World Souls Rage that have me a little scared, Galvanic Iterations, things like that. And there's a lot of mana in the pool right now.
Yeah, because this is typically when you want to cast your World Souls Rage and just burn your opponent in the face. And so I'm doing a little bit of math. That's 10 just floated mana off of Nissa. And then you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 18 mana right there.
That is a lot. And the Galvanic iteration would bring it down to 16. That would be a World Souls Rage for 14 and doubled. Actually, that would not be lethal.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
You know, you would think 28 would be pretty darn close to lethal in most games.
My kingdom for a bolt is
Ugh, that just goes to show how terrifying that deck can be because you can get up to 28 damage in one turn. Uh, Fortunately for Branca, she's at 31.
Yes. Thank goodness that was a real heads up play, playing that Archangel of Wrath and plussing onto it so that it gained even a little bit more life. As we see, Galvanic iteration going to be the starter here for Burnt Taco.
Yeah,
What will be the follow up?
three. That's what's so crazy is 3 life. It was basically the difference here. And you know,
Oh,
oh,
double Galvanic
oh,
iteration. Hold on. See, okay, this is the Galvanic iteration math I did not do. I promise I didn't forget that card had flashback. So, but what is it? How much is it?
13 minus 2, 11, 11 times 3. Oh, geez, that's 33. I can math.
Is that because it's 3? Yeah, because it copies it. It would copy it twice. Let's say, oh my gosh,
Oh,
it's doppelgang.
oh, oh, that
Oh,
that was not what I expected.
doppelgang X equals 3 for each of X target permanents. Create X tokens that are copies of that permanent. So Burnt Taco is about to get 3 copies of 3 different things. So 9 permanents here.
Oh, goodness.
And then it being doubled. Wait, it's been copied. So now it's being copied. Iteration. Wow.
I
So,
won't lie, thank
oh,
goodness for Arena, because I don't think I could do this in real life.
oh my gosh. So we see 3 landline bindings, 3 up the beanstalks, and 3 Archangel of Wrath coming into play on Burnt Taco side. This is unbelievable. I love this. So the ley lines, 1/8 the Wandering Emperor, 1/8 the ley line binding that was holding the Nissa, one of the Nissas. And there is
Oh,
a third ley line that I don't know what it ate
oh my
because
gosh, so look at all those lands. Now that Nis has been released, the lands
oh,
are exploding.
everything is exploding. As it looks like the copies were made. The doppelgang copied lands.
Mhm, the
Oh my
copy of the doppelgang copied all the lands to
This is the most incredible thing I have ever seen. And this has got about a dozen more triggers on the stack, making so much mana here. We're up to 18 mana in the pool with 12, 18 untapped mana. Aftermath Analyst is going to bring everything back. If there's not a World Souls Rage in Burnt Taco's hand here, I'm going to be very disappointed. Because this is the largest fireball. Like
At this
I
point, are we just growing to see like growing the mana pile just to see how big we can make the World Souls Rage? 'Cause
see. There's a small part of me that wonders if they don't have it and they can cast something big anyway and trigger the beanstalks to try to draw it. I mean, it is 4 World Souls Rage in the deck. There are also 3 Virtues of Strength that would trigger the beanstalks. We'll see what's in hand. I want to know what Burnt Taco's hand is. So,
I'm looking right now. We've already seen our one of Galvanic iteration, our one of Doppelgang. I know that we've seen at
ooh,
least 2 ill-time explosions, at least 1 memory deluge. Like, what else is there?
the one of Kellen is in the Adventure
Mhm.
Zone. Uh, Shigeki can bring most of this, and that is the World Souls Rage going to triple trigger the up the beanstalk and herd migration to gain 3. So having the mana on the side, Burnt Taco deciding to just do it for lethal, thinking 31 is enough. And Branca's gonna say, "Nah, I'm gonna gain 3 life and get a basic land out of my deck, and put it in my hand." And we'll see if Burnt Taco has a follow up for this. I can't imagine that they don't, as Oh, we're on the triggers again.
Yeah, I would imagine there would be another one
More
because
memory deluge to find one.
mhm,
More
there definitely is the 7 mana deluge if they still need to find another one because I have a feeling that they can at least cast it for 3.
yeah, I mean, and Shigeki is in the deck. That could always return cards from the graveyard to Burnt Taco's hand. And these land triggers, they just keep piling up, piling up, and piling up. This is
At what
impressive.
point I feel like I might be slightly worried about burnt taco decking because with 3 beanstalks and all of the basics are out of the deck, so there's only gas left.
I'm more concerned about Burnt Taco's clock. I'm wondering where their clock's at this moment because this is game one.
True,
So
very, very true.
up there's the Shigeki bringing back the World Souls Rage. Burn Taco being like, "You're all tapped out now, right?" So you're going to World Souls Rage for 4, not for 3, for 4. So to -1 goes Branca. Still could return the land cards to the battlefield. Going to decline to do that as we move to sideboarding.
That disdainful
Whoa.
stroke came in so fast.
Right. You see, negates and disdainful strokes would be like, listen, this has gotta happen. Tranquil frill back to maybe take care of those graveyards. Chrome Host Seed Shark, just to even get some beats down and to protect against the wraths like the ill-timed explosions.
Mhm.
Anything else of note that you saw here? I see Case of the Locked Hothouse.
Ooh, I won't lie. Case of the Locked Hothouse, I do think that's a fun one of inclusion in this deck because it just lets you like once you have your lands, you can just play anything off the top of your library. That that feels good. So I am very excited to see that as an inclusion in this deck. Um, yeah, I that other deck is just so difficult to it's so slippery. I feel like I'm looking at some Bogles because the way that they can just sacrifice and get things into the graveyard. Really, I think the only thing this deck is kind of struggling with is some graveyard hate, which is what you really want against Burnt Tacos deck.
Yeah, and it seems like Burnt Taco Stack has had no problem putting together the combo pieces needed to get this done. And even those life gain, it may not seem like a lot, but gaining 1 life every time you play a land seems pretty good, and it builds up a nice cushion so that even if Branca is able to get onto the battlefield, I don't know how much pressure that she could put on before Taco has just taken off.
Yeah, I think that's what's a little bit difficult here is that both of these decks take time to set up, but whereas Bronca is trying to set up to get to large creatures that are going to be like big beatdowns, Burnt Taco's setting up for the combo, which is a little bit harder to interact with.
All right, and
A
we'll
lot
take
harder to
a
interact with.
at our game two openers here. Bronco taking a long look at this 2 land 5 spell. Double Atraxa feels like a mulligan already. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. Bronco would be able to play the Beanstalk, hope for a third land, and then maybe get the Stomper to try to, get some fixing, but you really don't want double Atraxa in your opener. This is a tough one, but I think it is a mulligan.
And we'll see what Bronca thinks. It is hard to mulligan, especially after losing game one. You just want to kind of get out of the gates in game number two. So, but Bronca will agree and ship that one back. And this is another double Atraxa hand. A little awkward. No green here either.
Yeah, that this is I hate to
Uh,
see it, but I completely agree. That one was just, you have the negate, but you're not doing anything else. You can't even use the herd migration to go find anything because you didn't have a green. So it's a struggle, but seeing this is still a much better hand than the first two on her
yeah.
side.
We see the Chrome Host Sea Shark and the Up the Beanstalk will stay, hoping to maybe get some value here. Cavern of Souls, not a bad draw, so would be able to cast the Chrome Host Sea Shark on turn number 3.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's the best move for Branca is getting that Seed Shark out, trying to get early pressure on board, and trying to prevent Burnt Taco as best as she can from getting those combo pieces together.
We see Cavernous Souls coming down, naming Phyrexian. So that will take care of Chrome Host Sea Shark onto the battlefield. Imidane's Recruiter had been the draw there, so haven't kept that card in. A little slow here, though, and not as good to give just your Shark +1/+0 and haste when it's already been on the battlefield a couple turns.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a funky draw. The flankers could bounce your beanstalk.
It could, and that would be a draw as Sea Shark getting in for some beats. So Burnt Taco down to 19. Aftermath Analyst now up and ready to go. There are 4 cards on the battlefield getting in for some beats of their own, though. So Branca also down to 19. Not going to cycle that Jetmir's Garden. Not quite there yet. So that's going to
I
come from tapped.
I do love that that analyst got in for the one. You know,
Yes.
gotta get your punches where you can.
For sure. And we see the Analyst is going to sack to return cards graveyard to the battlefield, but
Going to exile that graveyard though. There's the graveyard hate that Branca
yes.
needed.
So flanker coming in, taking care of that graveyard and saying, all right, getting on the battlefield, have a little pressure now. I mean, 5 damage is a clock. We'll see if Burnt Taco has an answer for this battlefield that Branca is building up.
Yeah, if I'm burnt taco, like I probably don't want to, start, playing my ill-timed explosions this early when there's only 2 threats on board. I want to save those when there's more. But at the same time, I know that things can get out of hand very fast if I don't work quickly.
All right. In case of the locked hothouse is drawn, doesn't feel so good when you don't have any lands to play, let alone additional lands. So we'll see the adventure side of Imidane's Recruiter instead. That will trigger the Chrome Host Seed Shark, making a 5/5 incubate token.
Yep, and the beanstalk trigger. That's
And
the
the
one
beanstalk
nice thing
trigger.
about Imidanes is that if you cast the adventure side, you're getting a beanstalk. If yeah, so I think that was a good move. Interested to see what burnt taco. Okay, it's time for the explosion.
Yes, we'll see Ill-timed explosion here. What will be discarded as it was a galvanic iteration? So looking to draw 2, discard 2. So the copy maybe to more fix Burnt Taco's hand.
Yeah, I think it's doing double duty. They can maybe get rid of something a little bit smaller, and then it'll just do double damage, and they don't have to exhaust one of their larger spells.
Yeah, it looks like so. This ended up being a draw 4 after the galvanic iteration. So 6 mana, draw 4, and then may discard 2 to deal damage to each creature. It's very interesting to see what Burnt Taco will discard here, if anything.
Yeah, I all right, one land, and I don't think I saw the other one.
It was an ill-timed explosion.
Ah, okay, okay.
So we saw the ill-timed explosion at 4 mana, taking care of that. Virtue of Strength, bringing back Nissa from the graveyard to the hand. But Promo Sea Shark is back, and it looks like the option of Chrome Host Seed Shark into Imidane's Recruiter is a possibility, or just attacking for 5. Like, that's not a small chunk of change. Burnt Taco is down to 10 and still needs to replay the Nissa if they want to get things going here again.
Yeah, no, I think just getting in with that 5/5, and it's not even haste, but it feels like haste when it comes from being just an artifact on the side, and then it goes, to swinging. But I think that was the move because the Imitating's recruiter, Burnt Taco knows it's there, but it it could be pretty difficult for them to deal with since a lot of Burnt Taco's spells are sorcery speed.
And an untapped land makes it possible to cast Archangel of Wrath unkicked and Imidane's Recruiter in the same turn next turn, which would be a huge amount of damage coming across. As we see Nissa coming down on the side of Burnt Taco, starting off playing a land, islands down, and adding a green mana with that. So 5 mana to play with as of right now. Let's see what they do with it. 3 cards in hand, an Aftermath Analyst, one short of being able to sacrifice to return cards, and a Philology Archaeologist. So we saw a couple lands hit the graveyard there. Doppelgang gets returned to hand. Burnt Taco at 7 lands in play, and Doppelgang starts to get spicy at 8 mana. So we'll see.
Mhm.
Archangel of Wrath, is that the play here? We'll be able to double kick, so can kill one thing.
Okay. Choosing to just go to combat first, though, and then potentially playing it out.
Seeing what Burnt Taco would be willing to trade with before Branca makes her decision on what to kill here. And there is a bit of a pause as Archangel of Wrath. There are some options here. Herd Migration, Case of the Lost Hothouse can be played, and Herd Migration can be cycled for that 7th land.
Yeah, it's
And
a little spicy because if Branca plays out this Archangel of Wrath, we know Burnt Taco has the doppelgang. So there is always that fear of getting your Archangel copied, and then now Burnt Taco has a 3/4 life linker.
yes, and we see Archangel of Wrath does ultimately come down to take care of that Nissa Resurgent Animus. And back to Burnt Taco we go as Branca is tapped out here. Let's see what they do. 3 cards in hand, Galvanic Iteration in the graveyard, and Virtue of Strength on an adventure.
Ooh, this is a difficult because if I'm Burnt Taco, I'm probably considering casting Doppelgang for 2.
Doppelgang for 2 is definitely a big gain here that would be able to make 2 copies of 2 target permanents each. And that was, as we saw in the last game, a lot. And that will be the
Mhm.
play as we see once again up the Beanstalk and Archangel of Wrath both being copied, drawing 2 cards. Tranquil Thrillback is also a very interesting draw as that can eat Burnt Taco's graveyard here.
Yeah, I think that's a good move because we see that Aftermath Analyst is on the board, but now there's nothing for it to get back. There's going to be nothing left in the graveyard. So Bronca bringing in this graveyard hate has been very effective this game.
And that 5/5 getting in, going to trade with one of these 3/4 Archangel of Wrath tokens. So that takes care of a little bit of what's going on in the air. Burnt Taco also up to 14, but like you said, no graveyard to work with anymore. It'll be interesting to see what direction this game goes in as a Maestro's Theater is being played out, going to fetch up a land. And again, the Virtue of Strength. It looks like that will be the play. So after this turn, Burnt Taco, if they're able to untap, will have just infinite mana. Negate a little late here. Uh, Case of the Locked Hothouse looks to be where Branca is thinking right now. But that Virtue of Strength is very scary.
Yes, it absolutely is. The case going to come down, going to trigger the Chrome Host Seed Shark. Going to be able to take a peek, or I guess that's a new inclusion. So I am not completely familiar. Let me
Oh,
look
of
it up.
the Case of the Locked Hothouse?
Mhm.
Uh, that is 7 or more lands. It
I
is
can start playing off the top, but yep.
yes, you can play at any time, and you may play lands and cast creatures and enchantment spells from the top of your library. So, instance things like negate, it will be noted that you can't, but we see negate coming down to try to take care of this second Virtue of Strength, which is just very scary. And then
Uh,
negate right back from Burnt Taco. So now knowing what at least one of the cards in their hand was, as we see one of the 2 sideboard negates here from Burnt Taco. And oh my gosh, that is so much mana. Branca, I this
I I have a feeling, a world soul's rage was coming after all that mana
and
accumulated.
maxing out, and that was for 35 damage. So we're going to see Burnt Taco take that one down on Temur Ramp against Branca on 5-color ramp, 2 games to none. That Temur Ramp deck is something. I'm telling you, that's breaking out onto the standard scene. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot more of that deck in the future.
Oh, absolutely. Just seeing it play out that way, the fact that you can do 30 damage in one turn just straight to face, That's terrifying.
It absolutely is. Where, like if you're right, you sitting there, you see the virtue of strength, and they're just tapping triple mana, and you're just like, there's nothing I can do. Like, please, I've got an Archangel of Wrath and a Topiary Stomper in play. Like, but well played to both of our players. It was well navigated by Taco. I like Branca playing to her outs in the first game. That was great. And good luck to Burn Taco and the rest of our playoffs. Congratulations for making it through the wild card round on to the round of 32. And I'm excited to see what players we're going to be sending to the round of 32 from our next matches. Our next matchup comes out of our next player comes out of Division 4. We have Zoe, who Pestermite token. I don't want to count that one just because it makes me mad. Can I do I get a veto on me?
I don't know these a lot of the older formats very well, so I had to actually do some Googling. I was like, what's the Pestermite? And then I'm like, Pestermite combo. And I was like,
Don't
oh, I'm sure a lot of people don't like that.
yeah, don't go down that rabbit hole. It's all right. However, I do enjoy Zoe's Dimir mid-range deck. Now we've seen a lot of mid-range decks in standard lately. I feel like we've seen, Esper mid-range, you see like Temur mid-range, Sultai mid-range, but this Dimir mid-range is so unique to me because it's so low to the ground with the Spyglass Sirens, Deep Cavern Bats, Fairy Masterminds. I see Lazavs in there, and it really like tops out if they play like a Shieldred sometimes, and a lot of lists just don't. They top out at like 3 mana. And I love that this is super cheap and aggressive, but it's still a mid-range deck. It still like kind of picks apart your hand, still kind of plays that tempo game. What stands out to you about Dimir mid-range, especially compared to the other mid-range decks in the format?
Honestly, I think a lot of these Dimir mid-range decks are playing the Gixes, and having those spyglass sirens and bats that are very early, you're getting that extra card advantage off of the Gix if you can get that down on 3 just to start, life's a resource. Pay a little bit of life, get those cards, remove your opponent's board, you know, what is it? Rinse repeat. Just keep doing it.
Exactly. Oh, and I see Shield. Shield is the alternate art. It's hiding in the top corner here. So I see that. There's some Urtais too. So, but I love these Dimir mid range decks. I think they're great. And like you said, like we're in a bat crazy format right now. And so Deep Cavern Bat, not a bad place to be.
Mhm.
And we're gonna take a look at Zoe's opponent, Jenny from division number 5. Okay. I didn't actually know that Dinosaur Cat was a token. And I don't know, like, how did I not know that?
I want
It's
12.
I was right. Is there a litter? Do they come in litters? Like,
it's only I think this is from Ikoria, and I think there's only one card that makes them, and so they are a very rare token, but I too love them very, very
I
much.
that's amazing. That's amazing. Yes, I would imagine it was from Ikoria. I just didn't recognize it. I was like, I played from maybe, I don't know. I guess I missed out on the dinosaur cats of Ikoria, and now I have FOMO.
Ikoria was the set when I first started playing Magic. It was on Arena, it was active in Standard, and so that's, like, why I knew it. I was just like, "Yes, this was my beginning in the game, dinosaur cats."
Right? No need to Google mean combo deck cards and stuff. So we'll take a look at Jenny's list here. Esper mid range. We're diving back to Esper mid range once again, as we saw Paige having some success with this deck earlier. It's a very similar list. Virtue of loyalties, Shieldreds, Deep Cavern Bats, and obviously 4 Rafine Scheming Seers. Is there anything about this list that stands out to you? It looks pretty stock to me.
The Bat God, there's one main Aclazotz. So, you got your baby bats, and you got, the big bat.
Baby bat and big mama bat. I like it. I'm here for it, and I'm here to also see these two players go at it for a spot in our top 32. Trying to stay alive here at Wildcard Week, VML season number 11. And we are going to be watching from the side of Zoe. She is our Dimir mid-range player on the bottom of your screen. On the top, we've got Jenny, and she is your Esper mid-range player. So we're going to off to the races, and Jenny's going to start us off with a tap land, has an untapped land, double bat in hand on Jenny's side, and kind of a slower hand from Zoe.
Yeah, I think the fact that Ginny was on the play really is in her favor because she's going to get that hand disruption, take a peek at what Zoe's got going on. If I'm, yeah, I was going to say I'm probably taking that counter spell because otherwise I'm just going to play a bat again next turn and take another one of your creatures.
Yes, as we see Jenny with two more lands, so we'll be able to double spell, but it looks like choosing to cast the second Deep Cavern Bat. See what Zoe drew last turn. Going to take that Preacher. Preacher has also proven to be maybe the most powerful 3-drop in the format. Preacher of the Schism, as it is a very good way to kind of catch back up in games you are behind by drawing cards or making creatures.
Yeah, and the fact that it has death touch. So, it already has a lot of text that's really great. It's a 2/4, it's got a butt, and it has death touch. I love it. I'm a preacher fan.
We see Lazav getting into the red zone. Lazav, wearer of faces, going to exile the Deep Cavern Bat that was cut down from Jenny's graveyard and investigating. Deep Cavern Bat going to say, I'm not going to be bested here, getting into the red zone as well. So Jenny back up to 20. Zoe is down to 18. Going to crack that clue. And then we'll see if Lazav wants to become a copy of Deep Cavern Bat, but we'll not have the opportunity because Jenny's going to say, get that out of here. Go for the throat. And go for the throat, a draw from Zoe here. Double make disappear and a Spyglass Siren in hand. Spyglass Siren looks to be where Zoe would like to start. Be interesting to see if she decides to just fire off this map here, as there are no other threats in hand, and it looks like that will be the case. The 1/1 will reveal an island, so able to play out that island and hold up double make disappear or go for the throat if there are any problems. As we can see, Jenny's got some pretty good ones in hand. Virtue of Loyalty, Tashana's Tiebinder, Wedding Announcement is usually a must deal with threat. It can take over the battlefield pretty quickly.
Yeah, just it's really nice being able to potentially get card draw or just tokens, but that anthem is what really can make or break a game like late game when you have a bunch of small creatures.
Yes, and we see no attacks, not willing to do any sort of trades here, and kind of saying, you haven't really done anything. Attacking into 4 mana, 4 cards in hand feels a little sketchy. So going to keep Spyglass Siren at home, and we'll see what Jenny wants to do on the end of Zoe's turn here. And it looks like Ardenvale Fealty, the adventure side of Virtual Loyalty, to create a 2/2 White Knight creature token with Vigilance. And is that enough to make disappear sacrificing the Siren?
I agree. I think it is, and I agree with what Zoe did here because that 1/1, it can block the bat, but you know there's other options to get rid of that bat. I think just sacrificing it here and making it so that Ginny um, is just completely unable to pay for it, and now it's there's no chance of it resolving, and then Ginny getting the actual enchantment side.
And we see make disappear quickly taking care of the Rafine scheming seer that had been drawn on Jenny's side this turn. So Jenny can just pass the turn, and another copy of make disappear is the draw for Zoe. Uh, Zoe also notably does have Mirix in play, so would be able to start pumping out some 1/1 toxic creatures if Jenny doesn't have any if Denny doesn't have any plays for Zoe to go for the throat or make disappear here. Iganjo is the draw, but will be played out as a land to be able to play around make disappear here.
Yeah, it's Zoe's been doing a really good job of keeping Ginny in check, but as we see here, that might came down to being able to pay the casualty one for the make disappear, countering Ginny's spell.
Yeah, love to see that. So activating the Mirrex, sacrificing that might, and so it's just still a very lonely bat on that battlefield. But Zoe is just about out of gas, as that was her third copy of Make Disappear.
Yeah, she's been keeping Jenny in check, but I think it's about to kind of, turn around because the Go for the Throat's not going to be able to handle the wedding announcement and the Tidebinder being there kind of as a backup for whatever threats Zoe might be making later. Uh, I think Jenny's starting to kind of pull ahead here.
Yes, and Jenny also notably does have that restless anchorage among her lands. So that's a tough one to deal with once that starts rolling as well, even though Zoe does have a go for the throat in hand. We see wedding announcement here, and that bat has had enough. Go for the throat, getting back that Preacher of the Schism, going to activate the Mirrex, make a 1/1 might. The wedding announcement will make a 1/1 vampire token. And Preacher of the Schism was also the draw for turn here. So we see Preacher number 1 come down. And the question is, will Preacher number 2, yep, just push right onto the battlefield. So a couple of 2/4s. And now all of a sudden, Zoe's looking kind of good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy how one card, and especially when you have two copies of that same
Yeah.
card, can really make or break it. Because Zoe's going to be able to start making tokens. It's going to be a little bit hard for Jenny to come back from this. It was looking very much like Jenny was in control until double preacher came down.
Yeah, so we see Odawara, Soaring City, the draw from Zoe here as wedding announcement. Just been making tokens on Jenny's side. That No More Lies feels pretty dead once your opponent has 7 and 8 lands in play. But Preacher of the Schism, after getting into the red zone, the triggers will go off. One will be countered by Tashana's Sidebinder, but one of these is still going to happen.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if Jenny is going to block using the Tidebinder in one of the tokens to try to take out one of these preachers.
Yeah, we will see. And it looks like Tidebinder happy to just eat the Mirrex Might here and going to take 4. So down to 17. Zoe is at 15. Can have a Mirrex activation and the Odawara up here as up, as
Oh.
you had mentioned, Aclazot's Deepest Betrayal. So this Odawara might have to do a little more work than usual. We'll see.
Yeah, like I won't lie, you have to be a little bit considerate of the Mirex and potentially, not taking enough poison damage. But getting that Aclazotz out, that's a good way to combat those preachers because you're getting through in the air. You're able to gain life, especially now that the wedding announcement's going off. It's This has been a very swingy game.
Yeah, that is a 5/5 in the air. Spyglass Siren going to come on down. We'll see if this map will be cracked right away. I have to imagine that it will be. The question is the target will be the Preacher of the Schism that is still active or no? No, it will not. It will be the plain vanilla 2/4 and seeing Deep Cavern Bat. Unfortunately, on turn 12, Deep Cavern Bat just not as good as it was.
Yeah, I'd love to see a bat on turn 2, turn 3, even turn 4. This late in the game when your opponent's only holding one card, definitely not as good.
Yeah, and we'll see these 2/2/2s happily jumping in front of the 2/4 Preacher of the Schism, Odawara, going to bounce one of them. So Preacher will stay alive, but by channeling the land, Jenny gets a 1/1 bat token that is a 2/2 because of the wedding announcement. And Rafine Scheming Seer, I can't think of too many better draws right now.
Absolutely not. Being able to get rid of that no more lies, it's not really doing too much for Jenny. Just being able to pump up your bat, uh, this this is looking pretty good.
Yes.
I'm interested to see Jenny electing not to send Dennick to the graveyard, but does have that Takanuma can get back some stuff.
Yeah, and we'll see. It looks like Denix just going to be played as it is a 3/4 lifelinker. Underground River, probably not what Zoe was looking for. Not quite the heat that we saw off the top of Jenny's deck. Drawing Aclazotz into Rafine feels pretty darn good and might be enough to take down this game here.
Yeah, Jenny's getting pretty large on flyers because if she were to send all activating the anchorage, That's what, one, two, three. That's four flyers in the air. I think that would be just about enough to, as long as you're potentially, looting away a few things. I think that might be able to sweep it with only Zoe having one blocker in the air.
Yeah, Rafine being able to connive is definitely big gain here. Zoe's got to know that the writing is on the wall. Getting in with the 2/4 Preacher to make a 1/1. Jenny's not even going to bother blocking as that attack just takes Jenny down to 20 life. We'll see Takanuma, because of all the legends in play, is going to be channeled for a single black. Going to take a look and Shieldred.
Oh. Well, this is gonna be fun. Play the shouldered out, do a lot of conniving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a lot of life here to be gained by Jenny, and unfortunately to be lost by Zoe. As looks like willing to get in with most things on the. I was gonna say like
Yeah, it's
with
like
life.
there's some life lingers over there. I think I'm just sitting in the air.
Yeah, and we see that be the case. So Akhlazotz will draw a card because Zoe at the moment cannot discard that will trigger Shieldred, and actually only drawing two spells there, but able to discard the No More Lies that had originally been in hand. That will do it. So Jenny is going to take down game number one on Esper midrange against Zoe, the Dimir midrange player, and we look at Zoe's sideboarding here. Any thoughts on what to bring in and what to leave out as we see Preacher being shaved as well as Subterranean Schooner coming right out?
Yeah, I think the Schooner is just a little too slow. I think adding the duress in, spell pierce, just getting some counters to try to, slow Zoe down. I think that's wait a second. Yeah. No, this it's hard to tell which person. We are
Oh, this
looking
is we're looking at Zoe's
Yeah, we're
Dimir
looking at
mid-range.
Zoe's.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's because the white is such a the white is such a light splash. I feel like in the Esper mid
It was a
range,
little
like
difficult. I was like,
it's just
which
like
player are we looking at?
they're all
Because
gold cards except for like the wedding announcement. So that's usually your.
yes.
See
I
a
mean, either way though, like I think a lot of this is gonna come down to disrupting your opponent's hand, either from both sides. Because whoever's gonna curve out faster and get some of those cards out there, and just that disruption is going to be very, very important in these games.
I was actually surprised. I just saw the glistening deluge came in. It's all creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn. Creatures that are green and or white get an additional -2/-2. So they would be a -3/-3 until end of turn. So that could certainly mess up some combat, some blocking and things like that. So it's definitely an interesting card. It is a sorcery, but definitely an interesting card to see brought in when this almost feels like a pseudo mirror. It
Mhm.
feels like there's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of differences between these decks, but there's a lot of similarities. And did I see some cryptic coats coming in? So I believe I did.
Ooh, I hope so.
I hope so too, as we are getting going on our second game here. And Spyglass Siren going to start us off once again with one of the map tokens and a tap land from Jenny. So the coast is clear for Spyglass Siren to get in as we see Deep Cavern back. Going to take a little look here as we see just two lands on Jenny's side. A Deep Cavern Bat of her own, cut down, Destroy Evil, Liliana.
Yeah, I think I'm taking the bat because, it's going to slow Jenny down having to cut down Zoe's bat to be able to play her own bat. And it's,
Yes, it's definitely off tempo here as the answer is one mana kind of leaves Jenny with nothing else to do, and there is another Deep Cavern Bat in Zoe's hand. So we see that Jenny so far does not have that third land as Gix Yawgmoth Praetor is going to come into play here, and Jenny gonna say that's a much more appealing target for removal and
Mhm.
going to
And it's
fire up.
mana efficient using both of the mana instead of just one.
And that go for the throat that Zoe actually did not know about. Now, this turn, the cut down will take care of Deep Cavern Bat, but no follow up from Jenny at the moment as Zoe draws a swamp here and can double spell. So this looks pretty good.
Yeah, unfortunately for Jenny, did not get the land drop, so a little bit behind, struggling a little bit to be able to play two spells in one turn. That cut down and something else would have been great, but fortunately, hopefully we'll draw a land very soon.
Deep Cavern Bat taking the Deep Cavern Bat, and it looks like the land will be drawn, but it is a tap land in Rafine's Tower. So that turns on this hand of three drops in Rafine, Liliana, Gix, and Tashana. So that's a lot, and Zoe must know that her clock is kind of ticking here.
Hmm. Yeah, if I'm Zoe, I'm pumping up my bat. Actually, I might even pump up my siren, diversify my board so that I don't make my bat the biggest threat out there.
Yeah, we see a land get hit off of the underground river, and that will be added to hand as Zoe's getting into the red zone. So down to 10. Fourth land now coming out untapped for Jenny. The question is, what's going to get played here? As we know, Zoe has Urtai waiting in the wings.
Hmm. Yeah, I I unfortunately think whatever Jenny plays probably is not going to resolve.
Yes, and we see it looks like Liliana might be our winner here, and looking to perhaps Edict. No, changing her mind there. It definitely is a big choice to make, as it's only going to be one spell, and it will be Liliana. So Urtai going to come on down, going to counter that Planeswalker to the bin. Goes Liliana. Fairy Mastermind also going to draw a card.
Hmm.
That's pretty great because of the Urtai trigger. And Jenny down to 3 with a go for the throat in hand and all that mana available. I don't think Jenny's gonna
Yeah,
make it
there's
to the
it
point.
would take a board wipe at this point, which we yep.
Yes, pretty sure Jenny doesn't have.
Yep.
So pretty sure you know what? Jenny does play temporary lockdowns in the sideboard, but I don't think it's for this matchup. So we will move on to a game 3 between these two players, between our two mid-range players here. Again, we are looking at Zoe, our Dimir mid-range player, sideboarding here, taking a little look back at what happened that game. What did Jenny play before making sideboarding decisions? And on the draw, going to shave a Spyglass Siren and bring in the second Glistening Deluge. What are your thoughts? Or maybe?
Oh.
It looks like that Deluge traded out for a make disappear on the draw.
I think having the counter spell is a little bit better because the Glistening Deluge, I think it can be very good, but I think it's a lot more conditional than just having a counter spell up.
Yeah, so we'll take a look at our Esper mid-range player. They just like kind of just looking it over, being like, is there anything different on the play or draw? And it looks like Jenny
Yeah,
is happy with
honestly,
what she's got.
yeah, I was gonna say from Jenny's side, I think you just gotta hope that you draw more lands, which
Yikes.
this is not great, especially the second hand that does not have any black mana in it.
Yes, and to be fair, Zoe is on a one land hand here to mulligan first. We'll see once Zoe makes this decision, and we'll mulligan as well. So we've got Zoe on 6. It looks like Jenny on 5, but a one land hand, and is going to be hoping to just draw that second land a lot quicker this time. And being on the play is a little tough for Jenny, as we see
Mhm.
Duress going to be fired off right away from Zoe. Taking a look at this 4 card hand that Jenny has, a Virtue of Loyalty, Cut Down, and No More Lies are the choices here, and the Virtue will be taken as a second land is drawn. So bat onto the battlefield. Jenny also gets to take a look at Zoe's hand here, revealing double bat, Cut Down, and Make Disappear, as well as an island. So this feels like a very low resource game.
Yeah, with them both starting off with at least one mulligan, one of them having a double mulligan, it's it already feels like we're into the middle of the game and the board's just not quite built up yet.
Yeah, we are going to have a bat battle here, as I imagine this Deep Cavern Bat going to take a look and see the No More Lies and the Cut Down that was known about. So Cut Down going to come on down, and a third land from Jenny still has the No More Lies in hand. Ooh, but that duress.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I this is really interesting because if Zoe plays the duress, Jenny could just counter it, but that also then leaves Zoe up to, I guess I think I would take the make dis or hold up the make disappear for whatever Jenny plays next, and then wait on the bat. It's an interesting place to be in.
Yeah, I mean, both bats are holding cut downs. It's which cut down is more valuable. And I would say it's more valuable to Jenny right now, as there's nothing else for Zoe to cut down that belongs to Jenny. So Zoe knows that Jenny's hand is just a no more lies, but Zoe's going to say, it's fine. I'll just take the one. Up to 21 goes Zoe, down to 18 goes Jenny. And that duress.
Right? At this point, you just counter it, right? It's gonna be gone either way.
Yes. I mean, to be fair, that exiled it, and Jenny did have to take 1 damage to let that happen.
It's true. It's very true. Jenny here does have the option to animate the anchorage and swing, but elects not to.
And it is painful, as each anchorage activation would ding Jenny twice from the caves of Koilos and the Attica Waste. So it's a painful activation, but possible. Ooh, but
Well,
I
this
get
is a
it too.
this is a great pickup for Jenny because now that Zoe has that Preacher of the Schism out there, this Iganjo can take out the Preacher, but I may have spoken too soon with a Sheoldred on the horizon. Zoe, however, not able to play it because she still doesn't have that fourth mana.
Yeah, we'll see if Preacher of the Schism is able to draw a land here, because the trigger will still go off, as Iganjo had to wait until the Preacher was actually attacking to take it out and make disappear. So double make disappear in Zoe's hand, as well as a Deep Cavern Bat, which isn't as great if Jenny is empty-handed, but there we go. We've got battling Shellys and battling bats, it seems like.
Mhm.
But
Ugh.
Jenny knows about this. Oh, Jenny does know about the make disappear in Zoe's hand. Oh, and Deep Cavern Bat. Deciding to do that before casting the Sheoldred after drawing a fourth land. So that definitely some very careful play from Zoe.
Mhm. This is such an interesting game because Jenny knows about the make disappear, so can't really even play the Rafine out.
Yeah, and we see the Restless Anchorage going to get in, making a map that may help filter the top of Jenny's deck or get some more lands onto the battlefield. As we see Deep Cavern Bat thinking about getting in, going to decide to get in with one. None? Looks like none. And with Jenny tapped out, the coast is clear for Shelly to come down. Rafine, not as good once Sheoldred is on the battlefield. Shattered Sanctum, so at least a pain-free white source for Jenny. That map is going to reveal yet another Shattered Sanctum. So Rafine can come down, but I don't know that that would feel that great. Looking for a little bit of an attack here. Going to make another map token, gain one up to 14, but that's not a very high life total when Sheoldred's on the battlefield.
No, it can go by so fast, especially, if you're wanting to play out the Rafine, but all those connive triggers are gonna keep draining you, so it becomes a little challenging to come back if you can't remove Shoulder from the board.
Yeah, and we see looking to map onto the bat. Now we know Zoe just has answers. Zoe has go for the throat. So even like casting this cryptic code here, uh, even hoping to double block would not end very well for Jenny. We'll see what she decides to do here. She knows the make disappear is still in hand.
Yeah, Zoe just has all of these answers that Jenny knows about, and there's more answers that Jenny doesn't know about, so it's so hard to play into because, as soon as it comes out there, it's not gonna last long, if it even comes out at all.
Yes, and we see this is a very tight game three between our two players. Cryptic Coat going to be the decision here. Make disappear. The question is, will something be sacrificed to this make disappear casualty, or is Zoe just going to cast two make disappears?
Yeah, I think at this point I know I'm ahead enough that if I were Zoe, I just cast the double make disappear. I don't want Jenny to get the Shouldered or the cut down back. So
And this will do it, as cuts go for the throat will take care of that bat. And Zoe gets in for 6. Jenny being at 6 drops to 0, and that will do it. And Zoe, our Dimir midrange player, will take that match down 2-1 over Jenny on Esper midrange. So good games to both of our players. Amazing play by both of our players. Those are some interesting midrange decks. Those deep cavern bats, they do some work.
Yeah, it's having a creature that also gives you hand disruption and lifelink and flying, like that bat just does it all.
Right. It was definitely some good back and forth, and good luck to Zoe in the next round, the round of 32. And that brings us to our final match of the evening here in the wildcard week for VML Season 11, brought to you by Wizards of the Coast. Thank you all so much for your support and your love. We love you there. And I'm ready to get into it.
I'm ready too.
I cannot wait to see. Okay. So I love this. I don't. Okay, I'm gonna go like a little deep dive here really quick. So my partner plays Magic, and in the past, when he has been interviewed for like deck techs and things, he has my favorite Pokemon is Ponyta, and my son's favorite Pokemon is Porygon. So he would have a Ponyta token and a Porygon token, and he would set them up against like the card box, and so that would be his way of like saying hello to us without saying hi during like the interviews and stuff. So it would be cute to be like, look, there's Porygon. Look, there's Ponyta. So I absolutely adore cool Porygon. And I just, keyo, we're buds. So
I went back and forth of, do I put the Phyrexian Might or do I just put a cool Porygon? And I was just like, I'm just gonna put a cool Porygon up there.
just keep the cool Porygon. I am all about it. I love it. I love using like not magic tokens as magic tokens. Like I use a deck of playing cards and stuff for, aces for 1/1s. My old like worm coil engines used to be like 3/3s. I would use the 3 of hearts for a lifelink and the 3 of spades for death touch. Like I'm all about using like non-magic tokens. I think that's so cool.
One of my favorite things, Mythic Michaela, whenever she uses tokens, she has these Justin Bieber playing cards and she'll pull out her Justin Bieber tokens and use those. And I love that. I love that for her.
I am so here for this. Yes, I love it. You know what I love even more? That she brought Azorius control this week. I see, keyo, I'm here for you. This is great. We are here battling for playoff life and playing some farewells, some no more lies. I'm loving that Azorius control is slowly but surely like making its way back into standard. Slowly but surely, it's coming like a storm, I guess.
I was like, how slow do you think it's been? I think it's been pretty good for a while now.
Right? It's been it's just like reclaimed, like it's 2014 again. Like I feel like we haven't had an Azorius control deck in standard in so long. So what do you think set this deck up for success here? Like, was it the no more lies? Because I mean, Wandering Emperor has been in the format for a while. We've had Farewell for a while. We've had sweepers in Farewell, Sunfall for a little while. Like, what is it that set this up?
Honestly, I think the No More Lies is just such a really good, counterspell. I think the Sunfall, the exile that also creates a creature for you. Well, it's the token that turns into the creature. But I think Sunfall is really one of the big deciders in this because it just does what every control player wants. It wipes your board and it gives you an attacker, which I feel like is not what a lot of control spells do, but it's what every control player would like.
Right? I mean, this deck just has everything. It checks all of the boxes. It has, the planeswalkers that win the game. Check. It has a life gain and card draw and cards like Union of the Third Path. Like I feel, I feel like if you ask about like, like 30% of Magic players, they wouldn't know what the card Unit of the Third Path was. Like they couldn't tell you what color it was. I'm so here for this. So there's card draw, there's counter magic and no more lies. Is like you said, removal spells, sweepers. This is just like your like go to the drawing board and design me a blue-white control deck. Here it is. And I can't wait to see this one in action.
Yeah, I will say Deduce also. The Deduce
Yes.
is really that's been a big one as well. Getting to investigate and draw a card, it's just so much advantage. It's the early game advantage where the deluge is more of the late game advantage. It's been good.
I will say this is one thing I know we called her out earlier, but Nile Joan would absolutely ask why there's not a fourth Juice being played because she consistently asks to play 8. So, but let's take a look at Q's opponent here, Amanda, and she is on Golgari midrange. So another one of the midrange decks that we have here in standard. That's starting out. The curve starts with none other than Deep Cavern Bat. Obviously this curve looks a little different than our Dimir or Esper players or Rakdos players would, but it has that bat base, and that's a great place to start. Looking at new cards like Sharp-Eyed Rookie, and then not so new cards like Glissa Sunslayer, and then Gix, as we had seen perform earlier. And one of the biggest draws, I think, to playing green, Sentinel of the Nameless City, a 3/4 for 3 with Vigilance, which is just so good, just stat-wise. And then whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, creates a map token. Do you think that that the Sentinel of the Nameless City kind of like threw Golgari on its back and was like, "This is we're going to do this. We're going to make this a deck"? Or do you think do you think that there are other notable cards in this deck that kind of like helped glue it all together?
I'd start off with saying the bat has a place in every single deck that plays black. So like the bat's there, it's doing its thing, it's great. Sentinel of the Nameless City, I think that's been a really good one in green that's helped get the Golgari deck a little bit more, footing to stand on. Having a not only is it just a 3/4 well statted like 3 mana creature, it has vigilance. And when it attacks, it makes map tokens that helps get you if you need your lands or if you need to, see what's on top. Like that helps quite a bit with just getting like, counters advantage. I also want to say that the Mosswood Dread Knight, just having a way to, draw a card early game is really nice. Like I think there's a few different like there's a lot of stuff here that I think has really been enabling this deck to just, be a top tier competitor.
Yeah.
I like that there's an inclusion of 2 Stonebrains main deck. I wanna say this deck might have been a little bit pre-boarded to maybe go against control because, if you're playing all these creatures, you don't wanna see sweepers, and that Stonebrain, that's a good way to get rid of sweepers.
Yeah, that's what she said. She essentially pre-boarded for this matchup, and I'm excited to see what happens. As we see, I will give a shout out to the elemental token that she has, the 1/0 elemental token for Master of Waves. So from a Merfolk player for several years when it was not a good idea to play Merfolk in Modern. I don't know. Have you ever played a deck that was just situated so bad, but you just love it and you just couldn't help it? Because I'm a Tron player, so I've been
I honestly can't say I have, Nicole.
I have played such horrible deck. I have played like Burn and Treasure Cruise days, and so I was playing. I've played Tron. I played every iteration of Tron. I've played Green Black Tron, Red Green Tron, and it's just like there are just some times where it's just so bad, and it just didn't matter because every now and again I'd be like 2-4 in the tournament, but then I would get to cast turn 3 Karn off of natural Tron, and that would give me the all the feel goods that I needed to just do it again the next tournament.
That's
So
the high you're riding all the way to the
that's
next
it.
time.
That's all. I have my dog is named Karn. All right, and it is Karn liberated because he doesn't wear pants. So, but I digress. I'm just excited. Speaking of all the dopamine that I'm getting right now, I am so excited to cover our final match of Wildcard Week here, VML season number 11. We have keyo on the bottom of your screen playing blue-white Azorius control. Yes, I guess that's a little redundant. And then on top, we have Amanda playing Golgari mid-range. And we're taking a look at an opener as keyo went down to it looks like she went to 6, and Amanda happy with her. No, sorry, Amanda also down to 6. So at least our players starting on even grounds here and getting going.
As I expected. Bad on 2.
That on 2, and taking a little look here, double March of Otherworldly Light, a Sunfall, and a Get Lost. So KO does have the option to march the bat at any point. It's just a matter of how much she wants to give up in terms of resources. As we see Amanda thinking about what to do here. Because there is a choice of playing another Deep Cavern Bat or playing out the Sentinel.
Yeah, knowing what Kyo has in hand, I think I'm gonna go ahead and play out the Sentinel because I know if Kyo wants to take my Sentinel, you're gonna have to get rid of something other than one of those March of Otherworldly Lights. If you want to take out my bat, you can wait another turn, play a Plains, and then take it out. But you know, I'm gonna start building this board up before that Sunfall is able to come down and wipe it.
Yeah, we'll see. Deep Cavern Bat number 2 is going to come down here, revealing that KO has drawn since a Memory Deluge and a Mirrex. But in response, the March of Otherworldly Light is going to take care of it, saying, you can't have my Sunfall or my Memory Deluge.
Hmm. Yeah, because that next turn, that Mirror can come down, and we can use that. It's just that first time you can use it for a colored mana. So I think I'm expecting to see the Memory Deluge go off next, and maybe search for that fifth land,
Ooh. Or
or or you just get what you
you
need.
could have a deserted beach on top of your deck if you're like Keo. So we see deserted beach coming in. So that anchorage is now able to be activated if need be, but we'll see if it looks like March of Otherworldly Light going to take care of the Sentinel before any attacks, before any map tokens can be made.
Mhm.
And I'm going to see a Shieldra come on down. So we know Mirrex in hand and Sunfall can follow that up. And it looks like that will be the case. So Get Lost being added back to hand. Get Lost also the draw for Keo. So plenty of removal. 2 threats in hand for Amanda, 2 removal spells in hand for KO. The maths, you know?
It sure do. gonna gonna get the two threats out there. Gonna try to pump them up. We do know that Keo has both of those get lost. Can take out both those threats. Probably gonna check and see. We get that third get lost. Keo does also have the incubate token if she wants to throw that under there, chump until we can get something else going. Potentially another sunfall.
Ooh, main deck duress. There are 4 main deck duress in Amanda's deck. So that is something. And it looks like that kind of threw Kate off a little bit. It was like, all right, what do we do here? Like, it's not much you can do in response. It's like triple get lost, memory deluge. It's actually kind of a duress proof hand, almost.
Yeah, getting the memory deluge duress right there is a little rough because now Kyo is going to be, gonna need a little bit more mana before being able to cast it again. But the get lost will be able to give Kyo a little bit more time. Being at 9 is a little bit of a concern though.
These get lost keep, I mean, these map tokens keep finding lands at the top of Amanda's deck, finally hitting a Preacher of the Schism. And Kyo going to kick things off by cracking the clue from the earlier deduce, and it's going to reveal another deduce, as Wandering Emperor was also the draw for turn, able to just get lost the sharp-eyed rookie and move on with things as Preacher of the Schism, the known card on top of Amanda's deck. And Amanda isn't working with much in hand. KO down at 9 life, but for a control player, sometimes 9 feels like it might as well be a million.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you have at least one, I think you're usually doing okay if you're on control. Um, This is interesting because gonna flash out that Wandering Emperor, take care of the Preacher, but as we talked about earlier, the Preacher will still get its trigger because it has to attack and tap. Well, it honestly just has the tap, but going to still have that Gix on board. Keo can handle it, has a get lost in hand, but I have a feeling that uh, might go for the deduce first, see if there's anything else to be drawn.
Now, I'm curious about holding the sharp-eyed rookie in hand for Amanda. So deciding to not play that out and maybe play into another sweeper.
Hmm. Yeah, Amanda has to be careful because we've seen the first Sunfall, but we know there's at least is it? Let me double check. Was it 2 more Sunfalls or was it full 4? I know there's a farewell in
I
here
get
as
4.
well.
Yes, 4 Sunfall, 1 Farewell in the deck for KO. Yes. And we see Get Lost looking to take care of the Gix before it can get that Wandering Emperor. We have a Mosswood Dread Knight on Adventure and another one in hand. So Sharp-Eyed Rookie and Mosswood Dread Knight going to come down in that order to grow that Sharp-Eyed Rookie to a 3/3 Vigilance. And looking to map onto the Dread Knight, revealing a Gix on top. So at least Amanda does have a steady stream of threats here, which is something that you definitely need against a blue-white control deck.
Oh, absolutely. All of these map tokens have really, I think, played a huge factor in Amanda keeping up and not getting too far behind the control deck. Because I think that's the biggest struggle is, control's all about getting all that card draw, maintaining an advantage, especially a late game, whereas some other decks struggle to, maintain the cards in hand and being able to just, keep pace. And I think Amanda's doing a pretty good job. Those Dread Knights being able to draw a card, the sentinels being able to do all the maps to be able to dig for more action. It's been really good on her side.
No, she definitely has been able to get through a decent amount of her deck, like you said, has been able to utilize the maps from the get loss and is drawing off of these clues. So looking great. And we see the best friend of our mid-range players, Deep Cavern Bat, coming on down once again, just going to reveal double land in hand. But we know that KO also has double Restless Anchorage. So ready to make some blocks as well as that 2/2 incubate token. Looking to map onto the Sharp-Eyed Rookie, revealing another bat. And it looks like that is going to stay on top. It will. And Gix Yawgmoth Praetor is back once again onto the battlefield. We'll see what Amanda wants to get in with here. And it looks like both 4 power creatures are going to get into the red zone.
All right. Gonna be able to draw at least one card off of Gix.
And it will be
Getting
the
that.
Deep Cavern Bat on top of the deck.
Yep. But we do get to draw one more off of the adventure side of the Mosswood Dread Knight. Oh, the Tenacious Underdog. That is a good pickup. That can be blitzed out for just, surprise damage since Keo does not know that that is, in hand.
Yeah, and speaking of sweepers, we had a good look there at Sunfall. Farewell and Temporary Lockdown were also in that memory deluge, but Sunfall is good enough. March of Otherworldly Light also able to exile. So Tenacious Underdog, scary. But Deep Cavern Bat is at the ready for Amanda, perhaps, to play. To check out KO's hand post Wrath, as Deep Cavern Bat's going to start us off here. March of Otherworldly Light will be the answer for that. Still gets to take a look at the Adakar Waste and the island in hand.
And now we have Keo almost tapped out. We have the one anchorage, but that's not enough to, flip either of the tokens. So going to go ahead and blitz out that tenacious underdog and knock out the wandering emperor, and we still get that 3/3.
And I would say that's a pretty big win there for Amanda.
Mhm. It's Keo's going to start activating these anchorages, and she does have enough mana to start flipping those incubate tokens. So it's going to be a little bit more challenging for Amanda to sneak in more damage. Um,
I
but
but I will point out the Thrun Breaker of Silence. There are 2 in Amanda's deck, and one of them is in her hand at the moment. It is uncounterable. The spell cannot be countered. It has trample. It can't be the target of non-green spells your opponents control or abilities of non-green sources your opponents control. And as long as it's your turn, Thrun has indestructible. So it is quite a good attacker. And it looks like the 2/2 incubate token going to be thrown under the bus here to block, maybe
yeah,
without activating the four power one, it seems, as well.
yeah. Prior to that Thrun, I think I would have traded off the 4 power. Oh,
Oh,
excuse
bless
me.
you. Yes, and but it looks like, yeah, happy to trade off the 4 power for the sharp-eyed rookie as memory deluge. A pretty good draw here for KO, so able to dig for some answers.
Yeah, if ooh, I definitely think I would have been looking for another one of those sunfalls or a farewell, but the Wandering Emperor should be able to help out with the Thrun. Um,
So Wandering Emperor, definitely a clean answer for Thrun, Breaker of Silence. It's a 2/2 gonna stay home. Play some defense here as KO is at 7 life.
We're starting to get to a point where it's getting a little risky, but never you can never count an Azorius control deck out.
Right. We see Tenacious Underdog going to be blitzed once again. So Amanda down to 13 does have that Mosswood Dread Knight on an adventure. And it looks like the team is just going to come in. Now we know about that Wandering Emperor that will be able to exile Throne and gain 2 life. Looks like debating on what mana to use to play out this Wandering Emperor, and also to see if we should wait till Preacher, the Preacher of the Schism trigger resolves, and that will happen. So going to Field of Ruin, the Cavern of Souls here. That's an interesting play. I love seeing that. So that's the only Cavern of Souls that Amanda had in play. So not able to play anything else uncounterable, unless, of course, there is another Thrun, Breaker of Silence. And
I'm seeing now the Wandering Emperor cannot target Thrun.
oh,
So
it's not. It is not green. Excuse me. Yes, you are right. It has to be Tenacious Underdog.
yeah, which I mean that still is great because
Oh,
that blitz and being able to re-blitz it is rough. So exiling it is really good, but that Thrun is a big problem.
it is a very big problem. And again, Memory Deluge in hand to sort of dig for some answers here. There is 12 mana in play, so would be able to 7 mana Memory Deluge and find not a Farewell. Could find a Sunfall, but Farewell is not where it's at. There is a second copy of Wandering Emperor that can gain a little more life once again. After maybe cashing in the first Wandering Emperor for a 2/2 that can block. But the question is what to take here.
Oh, this is a challenge because if I'm looking at that, I'm probably thinking I would probably grab the farewell just so I can play it the next turn if I survive.
Yes, all right. Looking forward to like living. That's great. And it looks like Wandering Emperor will be the other choice. Like there are the Restless Anchorages, those are available. Clue can sacrifice, draw a card for Amanda. As we see, there is the second there's a backup Thrun in hand for Amanda, and that Restless Cottage just came down as well. And KO saying, well, I'm at 4 life, and that's a 4 power attacker. That's very difficult to deal with as there are no Field of Ruins at KO's disposal at the moment.
Mm-hmm. I'm
Now,
looking at this. I'm flashing out that Wandering Emperor, taking out the Preacher, and that 5 damage is coming through one way or another. So I think I just go down to 1 here.
Sharp Eyed Rookie is Wandering Emperor proof, as it does have vigilance. So Preacher going to take care of that. There is a duress in Amanda's hand now, though, from that trigger. So we'll be able to duress away this farewell and leaving KO at 1 life with a Wandering Emperor in play and some Restless Anchorages. We see Mosswood Dread Knight. Amanda is just deploying everything that she's got onto this battlefield. Temporary lockdown looks like where KO wants to start. So Amanda's going to say, all right, since I'm going to lose my clues, I might as well draw off of them. And we see Preacher of the Schism and another Mosswood Dread Knight being added to Amanda's hand before those threats go under the temporary lockdown. Going to make a 2/2. Now, it is important to note that on Amanda's turn, Thrun does have Indestructible. So there is that. And then Sentinel of Nameless City is going to come on down too. It also has Trample.
Mm-hmm. It's Keo can hold on here because we do have 3 restless anchorages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 of which can be activated.
Yes.
So there's a chance. It's that cottage though.
Yes, the 2 anchorages can soak up all of the Thrun damage, and then the 2/2 can jump in front of the cottage. But that's, at 1 life, it's just such a scary place to be. Let's see, the 2 anchorages going to activate the one with the counter on it, the 3/4, as well as the 2/3. So the 2/3 getting in front of the 4/4 Restless Cottage, 3/4 and the 2/2 double blocking the Thrun. Going to make a Mirix token, be like, listen, like every little bit counts, right? That little
Mhm.
1/1 might that could. And going to cast the adventure side of Mosswood Dread Knight temporary lockdown. Not what KO was looking for here in game number 1. So we're going to move to sideboards. And interestingly enough, now our Golgari midrange players said that they practically pre-sideboarded for this matchup. So do you think we're going to see very many moves out of them here?
I I do not. I think she very much pre-boarded for it, and it's like, it worked. I don't need to change anything. Probably just gonna run it back, or if she doesn't make any changes, it's gonna be pretty minimal.
Yes. And we see our Azorius control player, however, KO, she is making plenty of changes here. We
Yep.
see some No More Lies coming out, taking out some of the Union of the Third Path, and working with so hopefully some answers for Thrun this time around.
A couple more farewells came in. I saw. I think I saw something else, and I just can't remember.
Yeah, and like you said, doesn't look like too much happened there on the side of our Golgari mid-range player. As we're moving to game number 2, we see the opener, 4 lands, Duress, Stonebrain, and Sentinel of the Nameless City from our Golgari player, and 3 lands, 4 spells from our blue-white control player. As we are off and taking a look at that blue-white control hand and getting to take one of those spells is Duress. Any thoughts here on what the juiciest take would be?
March. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
We see a March quickly going to hit the bin here.
Because
Like,
the,
yes.
the get lost is a great removal spell, but the fact that it gives your opponents the maps, if I'm Amanda, I'm like, you can give me maps. That's fine.
We see Stonebrain coming down here, just getting ready to get out the gate. And my question is, are we going to see it get cracked here? Is
I'm probably not ready to crack it just yet. I'm gonna get some threats down first. Amanda has a couple of 3 mana. Um, I'm actually going to elect to do a secondary duress. I'm going for the memory deluge, I believe. Or okay.
saying I just want that? I mean, is there a world where Stonebrain is going to take Memory Deluge?
I think I actually would. If I know that's the only thing Keo has in their hand, I think I'm gonna take that.
Yeah.
Or my secondary thought would be the Sunfall.
Now she would get to draw a card if Memory Deluge, a KO, I mean, would get to draw a card if Memory Deluge is taken here. So, but with 3 lands in hand, it better be a good card. So,
Yeah, I think, there's a good argument for both of those, for the Sunfall or for Memory Deluge to be taken, because Sunfall is what's really going to, put Amanda back, and it's going to become hard to come back from. However, the Memory Deluge is, how Kyo is probably going to be able to draw into those Sunfalls. So I think there would have been argument for both.
yeah, I see that that is what happens as Preacher of the Schism going to be the 3-drop of choice from Amanda here, and playing a 4th land, passing the turn back. Restless Anchorage at the ready for KO. Going to look at the top 4 with Memory Deluge, taking another Memory Deluge, perhaps. Has plenty of lands in hand, so that's not a problem. So yes, it looks like it will be March Memory Deluge and drawing a farewell for turn.
I think that's a really good pickup for Kyo. Having the farewell, like, we know that the Sunfalls are all gone, so if you're gonna want to sweep, you're gonna need a farewell. So being able to get that into your hand is great. We just have to be worried about Amanda potentially playing one of these bats and snapping it. Granted, the March of Otherworldly Light can take care of the bat and get the farewell back.
Now, I love that name of Scout on the Cavern of Souls. So it's pretty fun. uh, as the Sentinel of the Nameless City is Scout. So it's a fun one. I feel like you don't see very often. Sharp-eyed Rookie going to come down, followed up by the Scout, by the Sentinel of the Nameless City with Scout. So I really like that play, knowing that the Sharp-eyed Rookie was going to come down first, and she had enough mana to pay for something like a No More Lies. But with the Sentinel, having to make it uncounterable was a necessity.
Yeah, and that was really good sequencing there to ensure the counterspell would not be able to work on either one of those creatures.
My question is, if you're KO, do you just fire off this farewell here?
Yeah, I think I would have.
I mean, it looks like Hannah's getting a little greedy. She looks like she wants more. She wants Amanda to commit more to this board, saying I have 6. But with your Azorius control opponent having 7 cards in hand, 6 mana in play, and not doing anything, you got to be a little bit suspicious.
Yeah, you know the Keyo's got something going on over there. I think maybe a little bit greedy, but I also am greedy and would want my opponent to commit more.
We see Sharp-Eyed Rookie, Sentinel, both getting into the red zone. Preacher of the Schism will not.
I think Keyo's being very mindful of the 4 mana, or Amanda's being very mindful of Keyo having 4 mana up, so that Wandering Emperor could potentially be flashed out. So only attacking with the vigilant creatures.
I like it, as there is a Wandering Emperor in KO's hand, and KO's just gonna say, okay, go. Like, all right, I'm not doing anything at the end of turn there, and now's the time to cast the Farewell, just exiling artifacts and creatures. So Amanda gonna crack that clue in response, making sure not to exile graveyards, as the memory deluges are in KO's graveyard.
Mhm. Amanda has not been slowed down whatsoever. Another sharp-eyed rookie and Preacher of the Schism coming out immediately.
Yeah, that Sharp-Eye Rookie with Vigilance again is unable to be Wandering Emperor, as we see a Sentinel of the Nameless City also coming out, making a map token. So we have a clue token and a map token both in play for Amanda. And now there's a Wandering Emperor, Get Lost, and a March all in Keo's hand. And it's a matter of how she wants to deploy these removal spells and when she will have the opportunity to.
Yeah, at this point, if I'm Keo and I'm waiting for Amanda to attack, um, I'm going to Wandering Emperor the Preacher, and I'm going to get lost the Sharp-eyed Rookie, leaving only one more option for any of those map tokens to go onto the Sentinel that's currently on board.
Yeah, I love
Or
it. And
actually electing to go with the March of Otherworldly Light instead.
yeah, and we'll see marching that sharp-eyed rookie into the exile zone. And Gix Yawgmoth Praetor is the draw for Amanda off of that preacher. And another sentinel comes down, but now there's the added complication of Wandering Emperor on KO's side.
hmm And I think it was a really good move that Keo did the March of Otherworldly Light there, because now Keo can Memory Deluge for 7 and still cast that Get Lost. Whereas with the March of Otherworldly Light, a little bit more mana had to be spent.
Love the sequencing here. Very well played by KO. And then leaving Amanda with nothing on the battlefield except for the newly played Preacher of the Schism.
Mhm. Ugh, I'm still just kind of, so blown away that Amanda is keeping up this well this far into the game. Like it's not easy to compete with a control deck when all control decks do is really give you, card advantage and board wipes.
Yeah,
Just lots of removal, lots of card advantage, and that Golgari midrange deck is doing a great job with the card advantage.
yeah. We see Field of Ruin going to take care of Restless Cottage before it could even get going. So saying I have the 3 mana up, I'm just going to do it right now. And KO before that cottage can be a problem. And going to go digging for some basics, grab a Plains for KO and a Forest for Amanda. Wandering Emperor making a 2/2. Maybe wanting to gum up the battlefield a little bit here, but we see Tashana's Tidebinder, a common answer for a Preacher of the Schism now. Uh, what are your thoughts about this Preacher getting in? And there's a lot of open mana here on KO's side.
I Yeah, I definitely it's interesting. I'm not sure if I were Kyo, if I would Tidebinder it or if I would just at this point, I don't think I want to get rid of the Emperor that's already on board. I wouldn't flash out my second one. I'd probably just March of Otherworldly Light it.
We'll see as the 4-6 gets in, totally ignoring the Wandering Emperor and just going face. KO is at 13, and it looks like happy to chump block with the 2-2, so not give up any resources on the side of KO. Just holding on to those cards real tight as Sentinel of the Nameless City is going to come down uncounterable on the side of Amanda. And Mosswood Dread Whisper is going to draw a card, lose a life. So Amanda down to 16. I will say, though, I feel like almost all the damage that Amanda has suffered has been from her own hand. So we see a planes being fetched up there and Memory Deluge. Like you said, being able to like hold up that get lost into the 7 mana Memory Deluge. So going digging and finding Jace the Perfected Mind, a card we haven't seen in this matchup quite yet.
Yeah, it looks like Kyo's gonna go for the mill strat here. Going to, when you get both Jaces, you're typically gonna down tick as far as you can, mill them, and do it again.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see because that is 15 cards a pop here. But do you think KO is going to just play the second Jace here or bide her time?
I th- well, I think that answered it for us. I think Kyo's just gonna bide her time.
I like the patience from a blue white control player. The true trademark of a blue white control player is their patience. So
That's
and
why I don't play blue white.
I did tell you I was a Tron player, right? So so we see Gix Yawgmoth Praetor coming on down here. Sentinel of the Nameless City also getting in with Vigilance. Both triggers. So map token and drawing a card. That will be a swamp for Amanda. The 2-2 going to jump in front of the 3-4 Wandering Emperor here to hopefully take care of the 4-6.
Yep, I very much think it was a bit of an indication when Kyo decided to tick down the first emperor to make that 2-2 that there might be another emperor on the way.
Yes, it's definitely a difficult card to just give up on the battlefield. Very powerful, uh, and we see Bitter Triumph being able to take care of that. But yet another copy of Wandering Emperor is lurking in the hand of KO as we see Mosswood Dread Knight coming off of the adventure onto the battlefield and playing out that swamp. And it looks like going to use the last open mana to map onto that Dread Knight. Oh, look, it's the run.
Yep, that is what Kyo does not want to see. That is very, very hard for her to interact with.
Oh,
So I think keeping that second Jace, being able to mill the Thrun, is the perfect answer for it.
that is amazing. One of the cleanest answers I'm sure KO has in their deck. Although it looks like milling a tenacious underdog while she was at it, but that's all right. You know, the
Yeah,
one problem at a time.
we do know that there is the third Wandering Emperor in Kyo's hands, so she might see that and be like, I can work with this. I can handle it.
Yes. We see Deduce is some decent card draw for KO to keep digging, and Tidebinder as well. You know, who can always do some blocking duty. But ooh, Gix is going to be activated for X equals 3. It looks like the 7 mana. So discarding the cards, but not getting anything for it as that Tidebinder comes down. That was painful for Amanda.
Yes, that absolutely. That does not feel good when you discard cards and then you get no value off of it.
Yeah, and we see a Wandering Emperor coming down also to just eat the Gix as well. And this Wandering Emperor, we know no answers in hand, no cards in hand for Amanda. Drawing an Anoint with Affliction would take care of the Tidebinder, but that 2-2 Vigilance Deduce with creature lands in play, it was just too much of a hill for Amanda to climb. So we're going to move on to game 3. Save your mental resources. Say, be ready, be fresh for game 3 here.
Yeah, at a certain point, like you can kind of feel the fluctuations in how a match is going. I couldn't see the amount of cards that Amanda had left in her deck, but it probably wasn't a lot after 30 had been milled.
Yes, it there probably wasn't much, and with time on clock and everything like that, definitely need to mind your resources as cards in deck and time on clock.
Yeah,
So making
especially
sure you get them.
when yeah, I think a big part of Amanda's game plan is getting those Thruns out on the battlefield, and I think both of them got milled, so once those were gone, it was just kind of an uphill battle that Amanda just didn't feel like fighting anymore. So, time to move on to game 3 and see what this one brings.
This is an interesting hand from KO. Now, with a restless anchorage, a Ganjo is sort of a spell land. Chromo, Sea Shark, and Sunfall. But we see Duress right out of the gates from Amanda. Double Sea Shark now from KO. What do you think about her keep here?
Ooh, this is interesting having, the double Seed Sharks but no spells to, get any of the incubate tokens.
Yeah, it's definitely an, an interesting opener as Iganjo can take care of some things and get lost, and you hope to draw into some spells. Like, get lost is a great card. Deep Cavern back giving you a little look at what's going on. We see a lot going on in the hand of Amanda as we have Blissa Sunslayer, Preacher of the Schism, and Mosswood Dread Knight. Going to just fire off this Iganjo, get back the second copy of Chrome Host Seed Shark to hand, and we'll see what the follow-up is. Looks like Preacher of the Schism.
I
Followed
think
by
that was a really smart move using the Iganjo there instead of the Get Lost so that there's still the opportunity to get the value off the Seed Sharks, whereas the Iganjo wouldn't do that.
I love it. And we see Glissa Sunslayer coming down, Thrun Breaker of Silence in hand for Amanda. No fifth land at the moment, but definitely can be a scary thing. Oh, I spoke too soon. There is the fifth land for Amanda, but Amanda's not going to let the cat out of the bag quite yet. Just going to get in with the team here. So Glissa Sunslayer in, going to draw a card off of Preacher of the Schism. The 2/4 going to jump in front of the 1/1 lifelinker. Get Lost going to take care of Glissa. And
Oh
I
yeah, that Glissa, that was gonna be really difficult. Having the first strike and death touch, that is just a wombo combo.
Yes. Speaking of wombo combo, here comes Thrun Breaker of Silence. So hard for our Azorius control player to deal with. And here is a Realm Breaker, the Invasion Tree. So that's an interesting card.
Oh, that's one I'm gonna have to look up.
Oh, yes, it mills. So you pay, I believe it is paying
Ooh.
two and tap it. Target player mills 3 cards, and you can put a land from their graveyard onto the battlefield tapped under your control. And then if it leaves the battlefield, you would exile it.
Okay, that's pretty darn good.
Yes. So it's definitely an interesting, it's pretty much a mill. I think there's like a big thing where you can like pay 10 and you get like a Praetor card or something. You can move a yes, you can pay 10 and move a Praetor card onto the battlefield, but that's a we probably won't see that as we see a Wandering Emperor coming down to take care of the 2/4 and hopefully stem the bleeding that will be from this run as KO drops down to 12. Any
Yeah.
thoughts on where this game is heading now?
Well, as we saw in game 1, Kyo doesn't have a lot of answers to this Thrun. It's kind of a board wipe or bust, and he was also only on 4 mana, um, no board wipes in sight, so I won't lie, it's not looking great for Kyo right now.
Yeah, as we see Chrome Host Sea Shark, the second copy going to be played out. Like we know that okay, so they're pumping up the incubate token to a 5/5, but on Amanda's turn, Thrun has indestructible, so it's a really good attacker. It's not as great of a blocker, but it's a really good attacker. We see Sentinel of the Nameless City coming down and just gonna map on top of that Thrun, putting all the eggs in one
Oh.
basket. Anoint with the Affliction is the top card. That's a pain 1/2.
Oh, that Thrun just getting bigger and bigger, that is scary. And that 5/5. Granted, Amanda is electing to get rid of the first Crumb Host Seed Shark. I think that's a good move because the more tokens that Keo starts making, the harder it's going to be to, you know, finish it off. So that 5/5, I would be a little bit worried if I was Amanda because once it gets to be if it gets up to an 8 and can block, it it's going to be challenging.
Well, it looks like Cavern of Souls is going to be the hit off of Realm Break, the invasion tree. Looking good. -1, making a 2/2. So just hoping to come up the battlefield and buy a little more time on KO's side till they can find, she maybe be able to find one of the sweepers or something. As Deep Cavern Bat, gonna take a look at the hand and going to take that last Shana's Tidebinder. So KO now empty-handed. A very scary place for a control player to be.
Absolutely. Amanda definitely ahead on card advantage, board state. It's definitely favoring her at this point.
Yeah, and we see dropping down to 5, taking the full brunt of Thrun. Stone Brain is being
Ooh.
played out here. Now, I can't imagine this not getting cracked here. What is the
Oh,
name?
Sunfall. It's easily Sunfall.
Gotta be Sunfall. And we see that is, in fact, the name here. Gonna take a little look through the deck.
If I'm Keyo, my next draw, after knowing that all my Sunfalls are getting exiled, it's basically farewell or bust. That, yeah.
Mirix might be able to help stay alive for another turn with the Restless Anchorage and the 2 Incubate tokens. It's tough to say this will buy another turn or two. Restless Cottage on the side of Amanda. This is definitely an uphill battle. Oh, we see Bitter Triumph. That's going to cut down blockers pretty good here, as the Chrome's host Sea Shark will bow out into the graveyard. And it looks like
3, 4, 5, 6,
an
7, 8.
Ali
Yeah, I think
will.
I think there's a potential of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 damage being blocked. But this is going to be very, very close.
As the 2 Incubate tokens can be flipped, um, and they can't be flipped and have the Restless Anchorage. So only 2 more blockers, I believe, can be made.
Yeah, which Amanda elected not to attack with the bats. I think that was a good move on her side because the anchorage could block and give Keo back um, one of those removal spell, well, Tidebinder or a removal spell. This is it's getting dicey.
Yeah, gotta just throw 2 chump blockers in front of this Thrun, and Thrun has really done a lot of work for Amanda here in this matchup, as we are in game 3 between these 2 players in our wild card week here of VML season 11. Winner moves on, and loser has to try again next season. So let's see. Mossword Dread Knight just gonna fill up the battlefield and say, "Listen, I know it's farewell or bust." So
Yeah, Amanda is all in at this point. I don't know if deck lists are open, and so I think Amanda can assume that Keo probably boarded in the farewells as well. But that is
oh,
not a farewell.
yeah, we see can draw here, but only 5 mana available, and another land. Not what she wanted to see. Cavern of Souls naming Aetherborn. I like the move. I like the style, but it looks like this is going to be KO's match. I mean, sorry, Amanda's match over KO in 2 games to 1. Our Golgari mid-range with an impressive showing against Blue-White Azorius control. I guess it pays to pre-sideboard.
You know, we we do enjoy a good metagame here at the VML. We have open deck lists every single week. It's fun to see if the players go all in, if they juke, if they, pick well.
Yeah,
It's a
it was
gamble.
super well played, super tight play. I congratulations to Amanda for taking it down and moving on, but good games to KO as well for playing, just navigating so well. And like I said, like that first game, feeling like you're being pre-sideboard. It's just like, oh, it's a lot. That's a lot of. That's a quite a hill to climb. So very impressive, very well played, and very well played from all of our players tonight. Because that actually does it for us here at our wild card week. We have shaped our top 32 here at the VML, and so excited. I can't believe, like, that was. I feel like we had three game matches just all night. They were just some really epic battles between these players.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I know the players hate it because it has to be very, very stressful when it's all riding on the last game, but it makes for some great entertainment. So thank you all so much.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. And I cannot wait now because there's a lot for these players to be battling for. Once again, big thank you to Wizards of the Coast for sponsoring VML. Oh, we could not do this without you, but there's a lot on the line. Our prizes are no joke. Our top 16 is going to get qualifier weekend badges. Our top 8, not only do they get regional championship invites, they also make the VML champs at the end of the year, where there are 2 Pro Tour invites to battle for there. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And I, like I said earlier, there's a nice cash prize to go with everything. And cash is always good. Cash is king.
Like
So I hear,
money.
right? So these players battling for a lot here. We'll be moving on to our top 32 next week. But before we do, I want to say again, once again, my name is Nicole, also known as Lady of the Crease. You can find me at Lady of the Crease pretty much anywhere that I would be, like Twitter. I guess I'm not that many places, but I know Misha. I know you are many places. So
I'm around. I show up from time to time.
in amazing fashion too, though.
Oh, yeah,
Always.
who doesn't love a hot dog fibble dip here and there?
I love both hot dogs and Fibblethip. So I'm here for it. I'm here for it. But a big thank you to everybody for watching. A big thank you to our viewers. Our big thank you to our sponsors. Again, I know I keep shouting out Wizards of the Coast, but really thank you. I love you. So a big thank you to our admin team working behind the scenes, our whole caster team, our production team. They do amazing work. Once again, I know we've thanked the players, but you all are great. Thank you for giving us some exciting matches to cover tonight, and I look forward to exciting matches next
I
weekend.
may.
Oh, please.
And I also want to thank our raider, Jelly Belly, who joined in with a couple of people. So we're glad to have you here. Sorry that it was near the end, but hey, thanks for catching the end of a very good match.
Oh, Jelly Belly, we appreciate your support. We wouldn't be here without people like you supporting us and our amazing league of people of marginalized genders. If you want more information, make sure to type point VML in chat, and make sure to follow us, VMLMTG, on Twitter, here on Twitch, twitch.tv/VMLMTG. We're also on YouTube, and we have an amazing Discord community. Make sure you're following us there. And as always, my final thank you goes to our amazing I forgot you were a bard something, and I totally forgot. You told me last week, but Phoebe, I love you. Phoebe is our producer, and she is incredible. And she's been battling through a lot of other things this week, and still has time to put our show together and just make it just the best every single week. And I don't know where we would be without her, or what we would do without her. So thank you so much, Phoebe, week in and week out, for all of your hard work. And I always look forward to working with you, especially during the playoffs. Super
Well, I can
exciting.
say, viewership would be really down without me, I think.
I don't think we would be here like in these boxes.
Misha and I would be talking to each other. I think, that would be fun. It's great. I love
Still,
Misha, but
thank you.
but I
Keep
adore
moving.
you. Well, have a wonderful night, everyone, and we will catch you here on twitch.tv/VMLMTG next week at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, next Friday for our round of 32. Have a wonderful night.